Dragon Ball Daily Gift Pack Chapter 201-220. 201. Silly Jagu. It wasn't until this time that she realized that she had been relying on her master all the time, and now that her master was going to attack her, Nua didn't know where to run for a moment. "Stop, you rascal!" Hongjun shouted angrily, and when he stretched out his hand, a burst of energy hit him. Nua couldn't avoid it, and he never thought that his teacher would attack him. Unfortunately, he was hit and fell. A figure quickly appeared holding Nua. "If you don't do anything, your master will beat you to death. This is not the time to be gentle." Suyi appeared in disguise. "How are you?" Nua was also startled when she saw Suyi. "Why not me? You don't expect me, are you still expecting others? I don't think a master like you can be called a master, so don't recognize such a master." Suyi ran with Nua in his arms, but Suyi avoided the bombardment several times by Hongjun behind him. "Damn, where did you come from? This is the disciple I taught myself, it's not your turn to intervene." Speaking of which, several energy bombardments came up. Suyi avoided it, but the energy was so great that Nua couldn't escape and fell. Suyi dodged to catch it, holding Nua and landing safely. "Look at your master, there is no such thing as a master, he is a villain, as long as you nod, I will help you clean him up, how about that?" Nua looked tangled, she was her master no matter what she did, she was her mentor. Nua shook her head, but she still couldn't bear it in her heart, and Suyi didn't want to intervene, so she stood beside her embarrassedly. "This Nua is really kind and heartbreaking. Where did the baby come from? You have to clean up the old man. The old man became a saint and you still don't know where to drink milk." Saying that as a wave of energy waving up. Suyi glared at this old man, and really thought he was a green onion. "If it wasn't for this Nua, I would have beaten you until your mother didn't even know you." The fire lotus condensed in Suyi's eyes, knocked Hongjun's energy away, and the explosive power of the fire lotus also knocked Hongjun out. Suyi waved his hands indifferently. "I didn't mean to hit the old guy, he hit it himself." Hongjun spat out a mouthful of blood and stared at Suyi with wide eyes. In his memory, there were not many people who practiced well. Where did this kid come from? Looking at Nua beside Suyi, Hongjun narrowed his eyes and clenched his teeth. "You just watch outsiders bullying your master like this." Hearing Hongjun's words, Nua felt even more uncomfortable. Suyi smiled. "This old guy played well. Old man, do you really think I dare not beat you?" The wishful stick appeared in Suyi's hand, full of domineering. Hongjun looked at the wishful stick in Suyi's hand, and his eyes flashed. With his eyesight, it's not hard to see that this stick is not bad, and he really can't see through Suyi. So, escape. Immediately, before Suyi could speak, the old guy turned around and ran away. Standing next to Nua, Suyi glanced indifferently at Hongjun, who was flying away. She didn't think about chasing after him. Thinking that Nua behind her seemed to be still crying, she came to her, sighed, and said, "I said your spiritual roots are very good, but why can't you see through your master?" Nua's eyes were wet and pitiful, and she also sighed. "I didn't turn away, I just couldn't bear it." Hearing this, Suyi twitched the corner of his mouth, shook his head, and secretly said in his heart, "After all, it's still a woman's heart. So soft. You can't bear it, your master is very patient. If you can't bear it anymore, your master will have the heart to clean you up, and I won't be here with you. The beast tied outside is about to end, and I'm leaving too, don't say I won't help you then." As soon as she heard that Suyi was leaving, Nua took Suyi's hand in fear. "You don't leave yet, let me think about it, okay?" Suyi hesitated for a moment. He has only been out for less than 2 months, so he should be fine. "Well, I'll accompany you for 1 day, and I won't be able to accompany you after a day." Nua nodded happily. The two stayed in the cave for a day and spoke very little. Nua closed her eyes and rested her mind, not knowing what she was thinking. Suyi also closed her eyes and rested her mind, and didn't know what the old guy would do tomorrow. Suyi hopes that this Nua can see through this layer, and the fate that is not fate should be rationally discarded. In the blink of an eye, the night passed so quietly. At dawn, many people surrounded the place. The leaders are Jagu and Tai. "Junior sister, where are you? I have been ordered to pick you up." With nearly 100 disciples, this is not a posture to pick up people, the whole posture is to fight. For Flowers 0. "That kid, stay away from my junior sister." There are still bandages on Jagu's body, it seems that he fought with those beasts, and there are still scars on his body. Ju Ji-yu stood beside Nuwa and looked at Suyi coldly. In this regard, Suyi raised his brows. This old guy is really interesting, and it's a bit pitiful to be honest. Tai's face was not so natural. Seeing Nuwa's helplessness and complicated emotions, he sighed heavily. "Senior sister, let's go back." Hearing this, Suyi turned his eyes to Tai and sneered, "Why are you still crying when you take her back? How many people know what your master did? I think you know it." Tai's face was a little embarrassed, and he was powerless to refute what Suyi said. "Junior brother, what did he say?" Jagu also felt something was wrong, and frowned at his junior brother. Seeing this, Tai was hard to say, and Nuwa was even more difficult to say. "You are all good apprentices, but your master is not a good master." Seeing that the two didn't speak, Suyi folded his arms and laughed. Jagu still didn't understand anything, and the first one was unhappy. "What the hell are you talking about, boy?" Jagu didn't believe it and said loudly. Suyi said indifferently, "Then ask your junior sister how did you come here." Ju Ji-yu glanced at Suyi, and said coldly, "You obviously brought your junior sister here." Suyi shrugged his shoulders and said lightly, "It's the same sentence, then ask your junior sister, how did she come here?" Hearing this, Jagu looked at his junior sister. Nuwa looked evasive, she really couldn't tell what her master did. "My junior sister doesn't want to say, is it because you bullied her? When I first saw your kid, I thought something was wrong with you, and now you are bullying my junior sister like that, look at the axe." Speaking of which, Ju Ji-yu raised his axe and pointed it directly at Suyi's head. Suyi didn't move, he wanted to see if the kid's axe could fall. The moment Jagu dropped the axe, Nuwa pushed Jagu away. "Senior brother, stop, this matter has nothing to do with him. I was chased here by my master. He was eyeing my secret and asked me to hand over the secret I got, but I refused." Jagu widened his eyes and looked at his junior sister in disbelief. 202. Nuwa broke out and severed the teacher-apprentice relationship with Hongjun. "Junior sister, the master raised you, you can't talk nonsense." Suyi smiled slightly and turned to leave here. It is not convenient for him to take care of other people's family affairs. "You are not allowed to leave. You lied to my junior sister, and I want to settle accounts with you." Saying that Jagu was going to attack Suyi, Suyi clamped his axe between two fingers. "Use your muscle-filled brain to listen to what your junior sister has to say. Is your junior sister a liar? I'm just helping her out. As for your family affairs, I won't be able to interfere, so I say goodbye." Saying that Suyi disappeared, Ju Ji-yu looked at Nuwa, not knowing what to say, and the brothers and sisters also began to discuss. Nuwa is the secret crush of many brothers and sisters. If their masters are unruly, what will happen to their hearts? As long as there is no problem with these guys' heads, they will leave their so-called master of 247 inches. Just as Suyi was about to leave, a strange force surrounded him. Suyi seemed to disappear quietly, but in fact it was hidden. Nuwa, Jagu, Tai, the three stood there and did not leave. Tai asked the rest of the juniors to go back first. After all, the beast swarm was expelled, and the surrounding area was not very safe. At this time, the atmosphere of the three people was awkward. When they didn't know what to do, Hongjun suddenly fled and returned, facing Tai with one hand and Jagu with the other, pushing the two people aside. "Didn't I tell you to bring Nuwa back to me? I see that you have been out for so long and know that something is wrong. Why do you want to betray me? Hangjun looked at the two disciples coldly and said. Jagu and Tai were both standing beside Run, and Nua watched her master stretch her hand to her head. Could this be fate? Nua shed tears helplessly, she couldn't fight her master. Hangjun's eyes were red, and he finally got what he wanted. In this world, only the strongest can have everything. Sister! Sister! Jagu and Tai called out and rushed to Nua's side at the same time. Hangjun snorted coldly, these are all his disciples, and he naturally knew how much his disciples weighed. With his hands facing the two disciples, he directly sent them flying. This time they both vomited blood and looked at their master with unwillingness in their eyes. I didn't expect his master to be such a despicable villain. I'm your master, yet you dare to disrespect me. You found this result yourself. Hangjun reached out and grabbed Nua's head. This time, no matter what happened, he would get the chance. Hey, I said old guy, your practice is really on your own face. Hangjun opened his eyes and looked at Suyi in front of him, his face instantly gloomy. Why are you still here, didn't you leave? Suyi smiled, I want to leave. But you are so unbeatable, I don't want to leave if I don't beat you. Hangjun took 10 steps back. Regarding Suyi, he was still very afraid of the treasure in Suyi's hand. Hangjun looked at Suyi, and then at Nua. I don't care who you are, the person who prevents me from getting the secret is my enemy. Hangjun became angry, wrapped a layer of purple qi on his body and rushed towards Suyi. Suyi smiled slightly, the purple qi on this old guy's body is unusual, it is best not to touch it. Suyi held the wish-fulfilling stick at Hangjun. Long. The wishful stick stretched out instantly, and Hangjun was hit by a stick. You. Covering his head, Hangjun believed that his purple qi defense had been cultivated to a certain extent, but he couldn't bear this guy's stick. You have become a saint. Why is he so vulnerable in front of this person? Is this guy stronger than himself? Looking at Suyi, Hangjun was very unwilling. He believed that he was the first person in the realm of saints, how could anyone surpass him? Have a frantic break. Hangjun rushed up like he was going crazy, looking like he was going to desperately try his best. Suyi's body has long reached the realm of saints. He wants to say that he is the second in the realm of saints, and no one says the first. Fight with me, are you worthy? Suyi closed his eyes and elegantly avoided the guy's blow. Hangjun smiled slightly, reaching out to grab Nua. You back me up. Jagu and Tai's hearts are overturned, is this their own teacher? Unexpectedly, he is also a despicable villain. I said Nua, if you tolerate your master's mischief, your master may kill me. Although he doesn't have that ability, but you always say that all living beings are equal, then what do you think is good in this situation? Suyi just hoped that Nua would see the truth and choose her own path. Nua's hesitation would only harm others. Hangjun grabbed Nua. No matter what you say, boy, it's useless. Speaking of which, Hangjun stretched out his claws towards Suyi. Suyi didn't need to move, this old guy couldn't hurt him yet. Don't. Nua shouted, reached out to catch Hangjun's blow, and vomited blood. Master, don't be obsessed with it, the secret can't be revealed, it doesn't belong to you. Suyi stood beside him, smiled slightly, there was a good show to watch. It doesn't belong to me, I'm just watching and watching. If you are still my disciple, let me watch it. Nua looked at her master still so obsessed, so she stopped thinking about it. You are my master, I respect you, and love you. Now you are no longer qualified. Nua opened her eyes, the purple pattern on her arm burst into a shocking light, and a purple beam of light rushed directly to the sky. What kind of power is this? Is this the power of heaven's secret? No, this power is not the power of heaven's secret. Hangjun realized it for a while, and determined that this was not the power of heaven, and he panicked a lot in his heart. Master, from now on, the relationship between me and your master and apprentice ends here. Nua's whole body is full of colorful light, which is very magical and very beautiful. Jagu and 5.6 Tai also looked at Nua with disbelief. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. The terrifying energy exploded directly. Hongjun was blown away, Suyi was sent away by a gentle force, and Jagu and Tai were also sent away by a gentle force. Suyi looked at the situation around him and couldn't believe it. The purple light on this arm, Suyi really remembered that the three little guys got the treasure in that cave. As soon as he mentioned the cave, Suyi slapped his thigh. He was attracted by the opening of the altar, but he forgot about the beast he caught in the cave. Now the beast is still lying in his space. Nuwa appeared beside Suyi, but Nuwa, who had exerted little power left, had already passed out in a coma. Hey hey hey! Suyi shouted twice. 203. Nuwa creates human beings and conforms to the principles of heaven. Suyi caught Nuwa and looked at her sleeping face. She was really cute. The red flame golden beast found Suyi following the smell of Suyi. Master, the surrounding beast tide has disappeared. Where are we going? Suyi looked at the Nuwa in her arms. Anyway, this Nuwa has no place to go now, so she can take it away by herself. Okay, this time I came out to watch the fun. Now that the fun is gone, let's go back first. Saying that, he hugged Nuwa and sat on the back of the Qian golden beast. Although the Qian golden beast felt that his back was carrying a lot of weight, it didn't mind. Along the way, Suyi was holding Nuwa, and all he saw was the tears in Nuwa's eyes, but she was also a hard-working woman. A few days later, Suyi returned to the vicinity of his own territory. This time it was a lot quieter, there were not so many people disturbing the quietness here last time. Nuwa woke up in Suyi's territory, opened her eyes and saw the beauty of Suyi, the Penglai Immortal Island, and was shocked by the beauty here. Are you awake? Suyi came over with the delicious food and handed it to Nuwa. 22. Here, let's eat first. Nuwa looked at the roasted meat and shook her head. I don't want to eat it, you eat it. Suyi was not cautious, and ate directly. Thank you for saving me. Suyi smiled slightly. I'm just doing what I want, what are you going to do next? Nuwa looked at Suyi, who was eating incense, and smiled lightly, and then looked at everything around her. Lakes, water, grass, trees, everything was so beautiful. Pengu opened up the world. Everything in the world can become spirits and demons, but it's always a little monotonous. The secret I got is divine soil. I want to create people and add vitality to this world. Suyi ate all the meat in his hands. The secret you got is naturally what you said. It's just that the world is full of monsters. When you create people, you must also give them the ability to practice. Nuwa nodded. I have also thought about these things, and I will also impart some skills, but people have joys, sorrows and joys, and there are various states in the world. Although I create a person, I can't know what this person will become in the future, just like my respected teacher. Nuwa looked sad. She was in the destiny, and she would complete it, but she was not very clear about what changes would be brought about by doing so in the end. God has a destiny, you obey your destiny, what you do is only for your heart, nothing else, keep your nature, and human nature is good, but the road of life is bumpy and difficult to walk, and what will happen to this person in the end depends on how this person walks. What's with you? Suyi just said something casually, but it relieved Nuwa's inner worries. Nuwa looked at Suyi, her eyes full of color. Thank you, I understand what I have to do. Suyi nodded, he also seemed to have done a meritorious deed to save the lost lamb. Nuwa looked at Suyi's living environment, and also saw the flat-headed brother, the honey badger, the three spirits, the red-flamed golden beast, and the ginseng fruit tree, but she just looked at it casually, and she was also a person who practiced the way. What other people want is not what she wants. All she wanted was an inspiration for what to do with herself. After staying here with Suyi for 3 days, Nuwa quietly left. Suyi didn't stay, although he knew when Nuwa left, but such a beauty is only worth admiring and admiring, it is not appropriate to stay. She has her destiny, and she has her own way to go. Suyi summoned the corpse of the beast. Almost forgot about you guy. Suyi cut the guy into 8 pieces and dug out an iron box in his stomach. Is that the scent from this box? Suyi was holding this box, it was very strange, and he didn't know how to open it. System, can you analyze this thing for me? Suyi was very curious, there was a faint fragrance on the box, and she didn't know what kind of treasure it was. The system scans and the box opens. A click, very crisp. There is a white flower in it, and it is very refreshing to smell this fragrance. Pure white snow lotus, the effect of purifying the soul, a good flower that helps the soul to practice. Suyi understood when a voice came from the system. Well, then I'll take a bath first, and then I'll study whether the flower is fried or stewed. The system is a little unbearable. The host, Snow Lotus, the fragrance that smells is the key to improving the spiritual practice. The rest of the methods are a waste of resources. Suyi was embarrassed. Well, then make it as a potted plant. In this case, the spiritual energy here will be much richer. Suyi found a good place in the east to plant the snow lotus, and then placed a barrier around the snow lotus. In this way, it is difficult for ordinary people to approach. It is really good. Even standing on the edge of the formation, you can smell a good fragrance. Su Yewen's spirit is also very refreshed. The red flame golden beast came over with its tail swaying. What kind of scent is this? It smells so good. Did you make something delicious? I really want to try it. The little boy's voice came out, and Suyi looked at the red-flamed golden beast so big that he wanted to eat it every day, which was really okay. If you eat what's in this formation, I'll stew you. The scarlet flame golden beast was startled and quickly woke up. I just said casually, who wants to eat your food? The red-flamed golden beast hid to one side and looked at the treasure in that formation, but could only watch from a distance, not daring to approach. By the way, didn't I let you follow Nua and watch what she was doing? The Qian golden beast snorted and turned his head, ignoring Suyi. He just came back at 1:50 and didn't catch his breath, so he asked this question and that. It's not serving it anymore. Didn't he want to stew it just now? Suyi smiled. What did he raise? He was actually childish. He is very tolerant of the people under him. So he wasn't angry about Kai Yan's childishness. Don't say it, you can, the cauldron will serve. The red flame golden beast wilted in a hurry. The woman found a place with good feng shui and stayed there. When I left, she seemed to be playing with mud there. I got bored and came back. Suyi nodded. Nuwa created human beings and conformed to the principles of heaven. You've worked hard too. I'll give you my bath water and treat you to me. After saying that, Suyi turned around and went to take a bath. Hearing the bath water to drink, the red-flamed golden beast is also very happy. After all, there is also a magical fragrance in the bath water. The most comfortable thing in life is to take a bath and enter the hot water, and the whole body is released, which is comfortable. The red-flamed golden beast was obediently waiting by the side, waiting to drink water. To be honest, it should be due to the recent state. The writing is very poor. I slapped myself on the face. Today at the 4th watch, I will make a good follow-up plot outline, and I will not say anything else. I will take every chapter of myself seriously, this book, and I will not be a eunuch, please rest assured. Also, I will not ask for it to be written on behalf of me. Suyi will not leave everyone until the story in my heart is over. 204. The Tao of Spiritual Soul is finally completed, and it is already invincible in the world. After a while, Suyi left after taking a bath. Before leaving, he glanced at the red-flamed golden beast that was rushing towards his bath water, and couldn't help shaking his head and smiling. He is now a saint at the Tao level, and he is still sanctified in the flesh. Not to mention that his bathwater has good things added. Even if he doesn't add it, it is also a big tonic for the red flame golden beast. Suyi stepped out tens of thousands of miles away. He hid his figure and looked down at Nua, who was pinching a clay figurine. When he saw the kindness in her eyes, he smiled knowingly. He knew that the sage Nua was about to become heaven. After waiting quietly for Nua for a while, Suyi quietly left. As I said before, she has her destiny, Suyi also has his destiny, that is, she will be Lingjuding. The entire prehistoric world is at his feet, and when he sees it, he just overlooks it. Everyone, even the sage, can only look up at him. This is his destiny. Unlike Nuwa's destiny, which is given by the way of heaven, his destiny is given by himself, Suyi. ... I don't know the years of cultivation, and it has been thousands of years since I woke up again. I don't know how many years have passed since the last time I watched Nua squeeze a clay figurine. On Penglai Immortal Island, in Suya Cave Mansion, he slowly opened his eyes. Base. 2 golden lights burst out from Suyi's eyes. At this time, if someone looked at his eyes carefully, it would be easy to see that there were 2 golden dragons wandering in his eyes. I don't know how many years I have practiced, but I wake up suddenly, and I'm already invincible in the world. Suyi, who was sitting cross-legged on the futon in the cave, slowly got up, and his whole body made a crackling sound. This was the reason why he had been sitting for too long, and he was mobilizing his muscles and bones at this time. The spiritual Tao is finally here. Now I am 2 sages at the Tao level, 1 plus 1 is not equal to 2. Now, a veteran sage of the heavenly Tao level like Hongjun is just an ant in my eyes. Quote. Suyi stepped out and directly crossed millions of miles, and instantly came to a high mountain. This was the Nua Palace, the palace where the Saint Nua lived, and also her dojo. Who are you? A 28th beauty wearing a long purple dress, saw a handsome young man suddenly appearing in front of him. His eyes suddenly stared, and he exclaimed. Shish. Suyi made a silent gesture to these 2 or 8 beauties, then reached out and stroked her head gently, and then his figure disappeared. As for the beautiful lady in the purple dress, she looked confused. Soon, she returned to her previous appearance. The difference was that it was as if Suyi had never appeared before. This was indeed the case. Suyi only existed for a few seconds in the memory of this 28th beauty. And now, those few seconds have also been erased by him. Saints don't die, but robbers don't stop. Inside the Nua Palace, on a lotus pedestal, a woman with a body and tail stood on top of it. Her beautiful eyes were tightly closed, and her mouth was whispering. She is Nua. Bang bang bang. Just as Nua's words fell, a round of applause suddenly sounded in the palace hall. Nua opened her eyes abruptly, looked straight ahead, and when her eyes fell on Suyi, her body softened in vain. Did you finally show up? Nua was deeply saddened. Many years ago, when she was not yet sanctified, she asked to see Suyi many times, and the response she got was retreat, retreat, retreat. More than 100,000 years have passed, and Suyi has finally left. Do not. Nua doesn't quite believe that this man's strength has reached that level. Does he still need to practice? So, in her opinion, this is nothing but a shirk. Some things, I don't know what to do, and when I come back to my senses, that person has disappeared in your world. Long time no see. Suyi didn't know that many years ago, when he was sinking into retreat, Nua came to him not only once or twice. And as soon as he left the customs, he directly sensed the location of Nua, so Kai Yan, who had been guarding the Penglai Immortal Island, did not know that this person had left the customs. In this way, Suyi naturally doesn't know too many things. Long time no see. Nuwa's expression was slightly indifferent. Hearing that, seeing Nuwa's expression again, Suyi blinked, feeling that something was wrong. The relationship between the two stopped before he retreated. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be bad, right? Now, why does it feel that this woman is a little unhappy with him? Suyi stepped forward, and was just about to speak. At this moment, Nuwa shook her hand and disappeared on the lotus platform. A cold voice came. Diaresis, I have a feeling, I need to retreat, see you later. Quote. What does this mean? Suyi was suddenly stunned, and didn't understand what was going on at all. A woman's heart, a needle at the bottom of the sea. The corners of Suyi's mouth twitched, and she shook her head. Since Nuwa didn't want to see him, it was naturally impossible for him to forcibly stay. Moreover, the relationship between the two, in a sense, has nothing to do with each other. He came here, in fact, the main thing is to see this deceased. Although Nuwa is beautiful, but if Suyi really wants to pursue her, to be honest, he really can't show this face. After all, he is basically just an attitude of appreciation towards Nuwa. Suyi left at this point. He did not return to Penglai Immortal Island, but traveled in the prehistoric world. Qian Zhao, let's say that after Suyi left, somewhere in Nuwa's palace, Nuwa bit her lip, her body trembled, and her face was full of sorrow. Stinky bastard, why can't you just lower your head and coax me? Nuwa whispered, tears falling to the ground. It is said that saints are ruthless, but Nuwa is affectionate. If there is no emotion, how can she create a human with various emotions and desires? It's still the same sentence. I don't know when the love started, and it can be said that Nuwa was intentional, and Suyi was ruthless. 205. One person overpowers one family, the dissatisfaction from the Wu people. At this time, in the great desolate North Continent, in the Penghu Hall, the 12 ancestral witches gathered together. Needless to say, the strength of the 12 ancestral witches is extremely powerful. The physical strength of each ancestral witch is even more powerful. The Wu ethnic group is composed of 12 tribes, namely Dizhong tribe, Zhujuin tribe, Lesho tribe, Juming tribe, Gonggong tribe, Zhurong tribe, Haodu tribe, Shebashi tribe, Tianwu tribe, Xuanyuan tribe, the Ming tribe, the Qiangliang tribe, the Ziz tribe, and the 12 Zhuwu tribes. Each tribe is divided into villages, thus forming the entire Wu tribe. This is a powerful race. At present, except for the demon clan, it is one of the biggest overlords in the prehistoric world. As for the three previous hegemons of the prehistoric world, the dragon, phoenix and Qilin tribes, they had long since fallen when Suyi retreated. Zhu Juyin, what did you see? In the center of Penghu Hall, 12 ancestral witches formed a group. A sturdy man with long fiery red hair asked, he is Zhu Zhurong, the ancestor of fire. Hearing Zhu Rong's words, Zhu Juyin, who was shrouded in black robes, walked around in the Penghu Hall. Can you tell me quickly? It's hard enough for you to hold back. The rest of the Zhu 130 witches saw Zhu Juyin walking around without speaking, and the grumpy Zhu Wu roared. Everyone, don't worry, that one is coming soon. Zhu Juyin glanced at everyone present, smiled and waved, and said, call out. When many ancestors were impatient, a figure suddenly appeared in the Penghu temple. Huh? Who are you? Presumptuous. How can other people enter the Penghu temple? Get out. Seeing this person who suddenly appeared in the Penghu hall, Wu Zhurong, the ancestor of fire, Wu Gonggong, the ancestor of water, and Wu Dingshou, the ancestor of gold, immediately stepped forward with unparalleled power and looked at that person coldly. I think you are too presumptuous. The person who suddenly appeared in the Penghu hall was Suyi. Facing the might of the three great ancestors, he seemed extremely indifferent. With his hands behind his back, his eyes swept across the three great ancestors. Boom! Thump! An invisible force was forced out, and the three great ancestors instantly fell to the ground. Presumptuous! Do you know what you're doing? Another CCCJ ancestral witch stood up. This was the ancestor of the weather, the witch, and the corpse. Among the 12 ancestral witches, the physical body was the most tyrannical existence. Suyi's gaze shifted and landed on the ancestral witch again. Boom! Thump! Just like what the three ancestor witches faced just now, under the suppression of Suyi's powerful power, he fell directly to the ground. Seeing this scene, all the ancestral witches in the Pengu Hall looked at each other for a while, not knowing who this guy who suddenly appeared was. Moreover, they are all shocked by the strength of this person. Everyone, don't fight with this man again. At this time, Zhu Juyin, the wise man among the 12 ancestral witches, stood up, bowed respectfully to Suyi, and said, "The ancestor of the Wu clan, Wu Zhu Juyin, pays homage to the saint." When Zhu Juyin said this, the whole audience was shocked. They looked at Suyi in astonishment, and their minds were buzzing. This person is actually a saint. Suyi was not surprised that Zhu Juyin knew that he was a saint, and responded lightly. "I don't know if the sage is here, what is your order?" Zhu Juyin bowed. "I don't have any orders, I just want to see if your Wu clan's strength is worth being my pawn." Suyi's expression was still indifferent, and he said this. "Lich fight, this is inevitable." Now, with Suyi's strength, he naturally has the ability to be a chess player. Hearing Suyi's words, all the ancestors in the Pengu Hall showed stiff expressions on their faces. Suyi was so direct that they didn't know how to respond for a while. "Then my witch clan can get into the eyes of saints?" Zhu Juyin asked. But Suyi nodded and dragged his tail, instantly attracting everyone's attention. "After all, you are only the protagonists of the moment." His voice sounded again, causing everyone to change color. "Impossible. My witch clan is so powerful, even a saint-level existence does not dare to touch our edge. Why is this prehistoric world not controlled by my clan?" Space Ancestor Wu Dizhong said coldly. Suyi put his eyes on him, did not exert pressure, but smiled lightly. "You say that the power of the family, even the existence of the saint level will not dare to touch you. Then, there is a saint now. There are many of your ancestor witches being suppressed on your territory, can you resist?" As soon as these words came out, the whole place was silent. Da da da. The sound of footsteps moved in the Pengu Hall, and now Suyi is as strong as a true god. This situation is just like when Pengu faced many chaos demon gods. He has absolutely invincible power, but after all, it is too much of a pity. Suyi guessed that if Pengu was still alive, then this was the one who could compete with him. At this stage, people like Hong Jun and Luo Hu are nothing in front of him. Okay, don't think of yourself as strong. Zhu Juyin can see the future, and he will naturally tell you the future results of the witch clan. Suyi yawned and was about to leave. Since he wants to play chess, he naturally wants to win. The two Lich clans are currently in full swing in the prehistoric world, but he doesn't look down on them at all. After all, he was a human race before he crossed the Dragon Ball world. Not to mention, in the future, the human race must occupy the prehistoric world. So, no matter what, he will support the tiny human race now. Suyi left without anyone noticing, he just left quietly. All the ancestral witches in the Pengu Hall who were suppressed on the ground stood up one after another, their faces full of gloomy expressions. This saint is too arrogant. Wu Shi, the ancestor of the weather, said coldly, his face full of dissatisfaction. "A corpse, not a saint." Zhu Juyin frowned. "What if I said it? Could he still know that I'm waiting to talk about him?" The ancestor of weather, Wu Shibi, sneered. "When you reach the level of a saint, anything about him will be perceived by him. Hey. Zhu Juyin shook his head and sighed, glanced around, and sighed again. "It would be great if that sage came again. Punishing you in person would be considered a vent of anger. But, he didn't. So I, the Wu clan, must be careful." Hearing Zhu Juin's words, many ancestors showed disdain on their faces. As Dizhong said before, if the power of the whole clan is really used, even that saint would never dare to collide with his witch clan. Therefore, these ancestor witches did not have much respect for the so-called high-ranking saint. 206. Waiting for Journey to the West to start and return to Dragon Ball World. Suyi knew about the Wu clan's dissatisfaction, but didn't bother to pay attention. For him, no matter how unconvinced this witch race is, as long as he wants, he can subvert and destroy this race at any time. There is no difficulty at all. Afterwards, Suyi went to the demon clan to take a look again. This time, he did not show his figure, but hid and glanced for a while, and then quietly left. In the end, Suyi turned into an old man and hid in the human race, and as a preacher, he wandered in the entire prehistoric world. Where there are peoples, there is the word preached by Jesus. However, in 10,000 years, the two Lich clans went to war. During this period, after the two Lich clans were both injured, the human clan seized the opportunity and took the opportunity to rise. For a time, the situation of the three tribes reappeared in the prehistoric world. On this day, Suyi returned to Penglai Immortal Island and sent a message that he wanted to preach, and only the human race could hear it. For a time, many human saints rushed to come. This sermon lasted 3 years. Many human saints returned to the human race and implemented a big change. Suyi saw all this. After another 10,000 years, Suyi no longer knew how strong he was and decided to return to the Dragon Ball world. He can still come back in the prehistoric world, but he doesn't want to come back for the time being. He wants to wait for the opening of Journey to the West, and he wants that monkey to become the character he wants to be. After declaring a retreat with everyone on Penglai Immortal Island, Suyi entered his cave, and then set up a ban and communication system, and returned directly to the Dragon Ball world. At this time, in the Master Time and Space world, Suyi was standing at the gate of his own house. At this time, he was really close to home. For Bulma and the others, it might just be a while, but for Suyi, it can't be calculated in years. Today, he controls the Tao of Heaven, transcends the Tao of Heaven, and is extremely close to the realm of the Tao. No one can imagine his strength. Absolutely invincible. These 4 words are enough to describe Suyi at this time. Back home, Bulma and the others were still fast asleep. Dragon Ball AF and the main time and space world is also very small. When he went to that world, it was in the morning, so there was not much time in the past. Hate, don't touch. Suyi went to bed, and as soon as she lifted the quilt, Bulma's delicate voice rang out. Ha ha ha. Suyi laughed loudly. How could it be possible without touching it? After a while, there was a burst of beautiful sounds in the room. ... After 3 days, Suyi changed the physiques of Bulma, Akatsuki, Lazli, Bados, and the little girl Luli. With his current strength, he made them easily become Taoist bodies. This body of the avenue can directly allow them to absorb the spiritual energy in the air without serious cultivation. Reiki is something like Reiki in the prehistoric world, and simple Qi in the Dragon Ball world. It has different names, but it is one type after all. On this day, Suyi came to Guixian Island, where everyone gathered. Brother Suyi, when I traveled in the universe, I found an unusual place. It was a time-space tunnel, and after entering it, it was another world. This time the gathering was called by Sun Wukong, because when he was practicing in the universe, he discovered a time-space tunnel. He entered and returned safely. Hearing this news, Vegeta and the others all lit up. When Suyi heard the news, his eyes also lit up. He had already felt that there were other universes besides the 12 universes in the Dragon Ball world. Now that I heard Monkey King's words, I immediately understood that the Fu must have come from another universe. With Suyi's current strength, he can easily feel all the remote corners of the entire 12 universe. And this is not the key is that it can incorporate all 12 universes into his inner world. As a saint close to the realm of the Tao, his strength is unimaginable. In short, in this Dragon Ball world, he belongs to an absolutely invincible existence. Do you want to venture into that world? Suyi looked at Sun Wukong and asked with a smile. Hey, big brother Suyi knows me. I feel that there must be a lot of masters in that place. Anyway, I have played against masters in that world and found that I am not his opponent. Now it seems that place is the future I should go to. Place. Quote. Katakana middle dot flowers katakana middle dot. Sun Wukong laughed. Suyi pondered for a moment and nodded, yes, who of you want to go there with Wukong? Hearing Suyi's words, Sun Wukong was stunned. Don't big brother Suyi want to fight against a very powerful expert? Sun Wukong's words made Suyi laugh. With his current strength, there is no opponent. The combat power of the prehistoric world is in contrast to the Dragon Ball world. He felt that he was a saint who was made holy with Hongmeng purple chi, and he was definitely an invincible existence in this Dragon Ball world. Not to mention, he is a saint of the Avenue, and his realm is even closer to the level of the Avenue. Seeing Suyi smiling but not saying a word, Sun Wukong scratched his head, a little unclear what he was thinking. He looked at Vegeta and the others and asked, would you like to go with me? 0. Vegeta snorted coldly, you are nonsense. Piccolo looked at each other. Some got confused. For them, the combat power in the 12 universes has already made them unable to keep up, let alone enter a place that makes Sun Wukong feel very powerful. We'll just stay on Earth and wait for you to come back. Keelan, Yamcha, and Tianjin Fan thought for a while and then gave their answers. As for Piccolo's hesitation, he decided to leave with Monkey King and the others. Okay, if that's the case, take my hand if you want to leave with me, and I'll use teleportation to reach that place. Sun Wukong laughed. Suyi smiled and watched Sun Wukong and the others leave. After staying on the Immortal Turtle Island for a while, he left directly. At the same time, Suyi's spiritual sense grew stronger, covering the 12 universes of the Dragon Ball world, and then, everyone in the 12 universes felt their world shake, and they returned to peace. When Suyi incorporated the 12 universes into his inner world, others also entered the world where Sun Wukong and the others went. With the addition of 12 universes, Suyi found that the world in his body was growing stronger and stronger. Don't think that the world can't hold the universe. Suyi's strength is there, and the 12 universes in the Dragon Ball world combined are probably not as big as 1/3 of the world in his body. 207. Reunite in the Dragon Ball universe. Suyi wandered around in this world, his divine sense also enveloped the entire universe, and found that there were also many small universes in this universe. In this regard, he pondered. System, do you understand this big universe? After a while, Suyi asked in her heart. This is the Dragon Ball universe, a multi-element universe that has a certain connection with the 12 universes that you have hosted before. System explained. In this big universe, there are also the Saiyan family, the Frozen Demon family, and the Angel family. Even, the ruler of the 12 universes, the whole King family. Also in this big universe. Hearing the system's words, Suyi blinked, slightly surprised. To be honest, he thinks this Dragon Ball universe R317 is much more interesting than the 12 universes inside him. So, did I teach Yamozi in the ancient times and that Bardock, the father of Sun Wukong, is also in this big universe? Suyi suddenly recalled that he had not found Yamozi and Bardock in the 12 universes before, and immediately asked. Yes. The system nodded. Suyi nodded. Although his spiritual sense can cover this Dragon Ball universe, it can't be precise in every remote corner, so he naturally doesn't know whether Yamozi and Bardock are in this Dragon Ball universe. Okay. Suyi's figure flashed and disappeared. When he appeared in the next second, he had already returned to the 7th universe in his body. After talking with Bulma and other women for a while, Suyi brought them to this Dragon Ball universe again. He hasn't traveled this world yet, so he's going to take them to play in this world for a while. Anyway, the 7th universe is in his body. If he wants to go back, he can go back at any time. ... A few years passed quickly, and Bulma said that she was tired of playing and wanted to go back to work. Suyi stayed for a while, but did not stay. In the end, the little girl Luli stayed behind. Dad, I found that my strength is also very strong now. In a certain planet in a certain small universe, Su Luli said with joy as she embraced her father's arm. Hearing this, Su Yi glanced at her daughter Su Luli and found that her strength was close to the level of an immortal, which should be considered quite strong for her. Approaching the realm of the immortal level, Su Yi converted the combat power and guessed that it should be the level of the god of destruction. A little further up is the angel level. In short, the high-level people in the prehistoric world are definitely very powerful in the Dragon Ball world. Lu Li is amazing. Su Yi praised, and then the father and daughter came to a place to eat and sat down. Not all places to eat are called restaurants or restaurants. Now the place where they sit is just an open space. As for how to do it Kai, Su Yi glanced at it, it was completely fabricated out of thin air. Seeing this, he raised his brows. This ability is very peculiar, it belongs to creating things out of thin air. However, Su Yi learned from the system that this race is limited to some low-level creations. After eating a meal quickly, Su Yi, who thought it tasted good, took her daughter Su Luli to the next universe. Su Luli, who is now an adult, is more and more beautiful and moving. Every time she passes through a universe, she has caused trouble many times because of her beauty. Every time she encounters such a situation, Su Yi expresses her helplessness. She has asked her to cover up her beauty many times, but this girl just doesn't want to. In this regard, what else can Su Yi say? It can only be a provocation, just as a flower protector. Soon, another 2 years passed. This year, Su Yi brought Luli to the universe where Sun Wukong and his party were. This small universe has a closer connection with the 12 universes in his body. Because, Sun Wukong and the others entered this small universe from the space-time tunnel in the 7th universe. Su Yi took Luli to meet Sun Wukong, Vegeta, Sun Wuhan, and Piccolo. Brother Su Yi. Sun Wukong was the first to notice Su Yi and hurriedly exclaimed. Vegeta and the others also came over and said hello, then looked at Su Yi in surprise. Vegeta said, Mr. Su Yi, how did you find us? You must know that this Dragon Ball universe is completely different from the previous 12 universes, and even Sun Wukong's teleportation ability cannot be used here at all. Not to mention that they can sense each other's chi, which is completely impossible. And now the ability that Su Yi has shown makes them feel very shocked. My strength is beyond your imagination, so you don't need to be too surprised. Su Yi smiled slightly. If he wanted to, he could also teach Sun Wukong and the others to practice the exercises of the prehistoric world, but after thinking about it, he still did not choose to teach them now. In his opinion, Sun Wukong and the others need to rely on their potential and slowly cultivate. And he didn't think that Sun Wukong and the others would choose to get something for nothing and gain great power. That's it. Sun Wukong and the others were stunned, but when they thought about it, they thought it was normal, because their strength has grown very fast over the years. They can't do it, it doesn't mean that Su Yi can't. A group of people found a restaurant to eat and sat down. Once again, the group chatted about the interesting stories of 1.6 in the 7th universe, and then Sun Wukong said, Brother Su Yi, I have also encountered many competitions in this world. Asians. Not only that, but I've seen a lot of people who look just like Frieza. It's normal, I'm thinking that they are all descendants of people who came to this world through the time tunnel many years ago, so it is possible that the ancestors of these guys are people who came out of our 7th universe. Su Yi smiled and explained. Hearing Su Yi's explanation, everyone was stunned. Boom. At this moment, someone kicked over a table next to it, and the things on the kicked table flew to Su Yi and the others. In response, Su Yi frowned and looked to one side. A member of the Frozen Demon family was arguing with a Saiyan family member. 208. Do what you want, do what you want. When it was about to fight, a burst of shouting sounded in the field. Who dares to do it? Hearing this loud shout, Su Yi looked in the direction of the sound, an ordinary human wearing the clothes of a time-space patroller, looking coldly at the two people who were about to make a move. This guy is a time-space patroller. Not only Su Yi saw this guy, but Sun Wukong and Vegeta also saw this guy, and Sun Wukong was surprised. Dong dong dong. One after another dull footsteps sounded, and the man dressed as a time-space patrolman walked towards the arena where the two faced off, bursting with momentum, and from the sensory point of view, it was very powerful. The combat power of 12 Beijing. It seems that there are not too many masters in this Dragon Ball universe. Su Yi glanced at the time and space patrolman, and then glanced at the other people. At a glance, his eyes were like combat power detectors, and he easily felt the combat power of these people. They are all masters at the Beijing level, and there are very few people below the Beijing level. Of course, those ordinary people must be excluded. After all, in every world, it is naturally impossible for everyone to practice. Time Patrol 22. The faces of the two confronting Saiyans and the frozen demons suddenly changed when they saw this time and space patroller. Time and space patrolmen are considered civil servants in the entire Dragon Ball universe, at least higher than their ordinary people of a certain race. I'm sorry, we actually know each other, and we will definitely not fight. This gentleman, please come back. The people of the Frozen Demon family saw the time-space patrolman approaching, and hurriedly said a word. While speaking, he gave the Saiyan family a wink. This Saiyan family frowned when he saw his eyes, but since he was willing to reconcile, he naturally didn't think of disputes. Not to mention that he is just a wandering Saiyan, and his combat effectiveness is not as high as that of this time-space patrolman. Let's just say that even if he has a high status in the race of Saiyans, in front of this kind of time-space patroller who can be regarded as a high-ranking position in the entire universe, he still does not dare to be with this time-space patrol. Staff are tough. Yes, we're actually friends, and we've gone alcoholic when we're drunk. I'm sorry, sir. The Saiyan immediately conceded, with a flattering smile on his face. This Saiyan is too cowardly. Seeing this Saiyan's gesture, Vegeta, who had been paying attention to their side, frowned and said coldly. Shish. Vegeta's voice was not too loud, but not too small, and the people present were all experts. Hearing his words, he turned his head and turned his attention to everyone at Su Yi's table. Huh, that little girl is really pretty. If you can have a good time, it's really. A person from the demon family turned his eyes and was immediately attracted by Su Luli. His eyes glowed and he rubbed his hands together and said excitedly. However, before he finished speaking, his whole body suddenly exploded. A mass of blood mist floated in the air, looking particularly terrifying. Who did it? This scene made the scene quiet for a while, and the time-space patrolman suddenly came back to his senses and suddenly let out a loud drink. Is it you? The time and space patrolman turned his head again and looked at Su Yi's table. Seeing that their expressions were very calm, he snorted coldly. Base. Vegeta stood up from her seat, squinted at the time and space patrolman, and said coldly, you can eat rice indiscriminately, but you can't talk nonsense. Be careful, I don't know how people die. Speaking of arrogance, who can be more arrogant than Vegeta? Courtesy of death. Do you know who I am? Time and Space Patroller. In this small universe, on this planet, I am the most honorable existence. This Time and Space Patrolman was even more arrogant. He took a step forward and took it out, and a large knife suddenly appeared in his hand. Looking closely, the blue brilliance on the knife looked extraordinarily scary. Puff. Hearing the words of this Time and Space Patrol officer, Su Luli, who was sitting, couldn't hold back her laughter. She thought this guy was really stupid. She also saw the combat effectiveness of this time and space patrolman at a glance. No matter who they are at this table, they can easily crush him. If you say such words, are you really afraid of being beaten to death on the spot? What are you laughing at? Seeing the time-space patroller shriveled, most people came out of the shadow of the previous person's unexplained death, and one by one, they immediately became the licking dog of the time-space patrolman, standing up and pointing at Su Luli and said coldly, I tell you, in this universe, time and space patrollers are heaven. It's not easy for you to go out as a little girl, if you immediately. Puff. This person still didn't finish his words, and the whole person exploded on the spot, and the dead can't die anymore. You can eat indiscriminately, but you can't talk indiscriminately. Suyi slowly got up and glanced at everyone present indifferently. An invisible power made them all tremble uncontrollably. If you don't want to die violently for no reason, then shut up. Suyi yawned and waved his hand lazily. Today, he moves with his heart and walks at will, and he doesn't care about the eyes of the worldly people at all. Wow, Dad, you are too handsome. Su Luli held her heart with both hands on one side, and was fascinated by her father's lazy attitude. For a time, Suyi completely suppressed the situation, and no one dared to speak again. Huh. After a while, the Time-Space Patrolman sneered and left the restaurant directly. Before leaving, he glanced at Suyi and the others coldly, and said to himself, wait. Today, I won't take you people. If you kill me, I will take off this Time-Space Patrolman's clothes by myself. Along with the Time-Space Patrollers, there was a large group of people leaving. The two Saiyans and the frozen demons who had been arguing before looked at each other, and also got up and left the restaurant. After a while, at least 2/3 of the entire restaurant left. It's quieter, let's order. Suyi sat down again. He knew that the Time and Space Patroller had some careful thoughts about them, but would he be afraid? It definitely doesn't exist. In this Dragon Ball Cosmos world, no matter how powerful you are, Suyi will kneel down with him without saying much. 209. Different time and space, but the same line. The meal was finished quickly, and everyone left the restaurant after paying the money. Soon they chatted all the way and came to a suburb. Hee hee. A sinister laughter came from behind them. Vegeta paused, turned her head and saw that there were two people in Time-Space Patrol clothes, a member of the Frozen Demon family, and the Saiyan who had been in the restaurant before. Oh, it seems that you have never died. You want to try the feeling of dying. After so many years, Vegeta's strength has also grown rapidly, and now the final combat power has reached the combat power of 30 Beijing. 30 Jing's combat power must belong to the absolutely strong side in the 7th universe, and it can be regarded as a rank. Oh, is it just you? One of the two space-time patrollers was the ignorant guy in the restaurant before. At this time, he swelled inexplicably, stepped forward, and looked at Sun Wukong and the others coldly. Today's Suyi is watertight and looks like an ordinary person. So, basically, no one will look at him first. Because, returning to the basics, there is no sense of purity. Tora, don't waste time, kill all these guys as soon as possible. The space-time patrolman behind suddenly spoke. Good. This time space patrolman named Tora nodded, let out a loud shout, and exploded his air. His combat power rose from the level of the god of destruction in the 7th universe to that of an angel in an instant. To be honest, this strength used to be very terrifying for Sun Wukong and others, but now. Sun Gohan took the lead, turned into Super Saiyan 2, and rushed over directly. Boom. One punch. With just one punch, this guy named Tora was blasted out directly, and then fell to the ground with unknown life and death. Huh. Seeing that Tora was instantly killed with one punch, the other Time-Space Patrolman frowned in vain at this moment. Another member of the Frozen Demon family and the Saiyan frowned. If you can defeat this Time and Space Patroller with one punch, they naturally cannot be opponents. Go. The remaining Time and Space Patrolman gave a cold drink. Although he was a little surprised by the strength of Sun Wuhan, he still felt that it was the reason why Tora took it lightly. After all, in the current state of Sun Gohan Super Saiyan 2, the combat power displayed is not that strong. What to do? The Time-Space Patrolman rushed forward, and the people from the Frozen Demon family behind him and the Saiyan couldn't help but communicate. What else can I do? They've already stood in line, so of course there's no way to do it. Just bite the bullet. However, these guys are actually Saiyans, which really surprised me. After the two exchanged, one turned into a golden form, and the other turned into a Super Saiyan 2 form, and they also rushed up. The combat power of these two guys is very close to the level of the god of destruction, and it is considered a bit powerful among the unknown soldiers. However, they were very unlucky and provoked a small team like Suyi. Not to mention Suyi can kill these guys with a snap of his fingers. Even if Sun Wukong explodes, a single energy cannon can kill all of them. Boom! When these two guys were about to rush up, they saw that the second time Space Patrolman had flown back upside down, spit out a large mouthful of blood in the air, and finally hit a big mountain, tilted his head and closed his eyes. He didn't know either dead or fainted. Seeing this scene, the faces of the Saiyan family and the people of the Frozen Demon family changed, and they returned to their normal appearance in a moment of fright, and then turned around and ran away. Vegeta wanted to chase, but Suyi stopped him. There's no need to chase, first catch these two-time space patrollers and learn about the universe. Hearing Suyi's words, Vegeta immediately gave up the idea of chasing, and then flew to the two space-time patrollers, holding one person in one hand, and then came back directly. Boom! The two time and space patrolmen were thrown to the ground by him, and then stood aside with their arms crossed. Suyi currently stroked the two people with his right hand, and then saw that they quickly woke up. How can you be so powerful? The unstoppable look of fear on Tora's face was considered relatively strong in the organization of time and space patrollers in this small universe. However, in front of these guys, there is no resistance at all. Are you a Saiyan? Wait, why are you guys so like Vegeta and Son Goku? Another time and space patrolman was suddenly shocked, carefully looked at Sun Wukong and Vegeta several times, and exclaimed. Huh, you know us. Hearing the words of the space-time patroller, Vegeta frowned and said. Diaresis you, are you from a different time and space than those two perverted Saiyans? Tora finally remembered now that there were two perverts in the space-time patrol organization of this small universe a few years ago. Originally, the strength of these two perverts was not strong, but I don't know what happened. When they suddenly returned, their strength suddenly increased. Their strength was very terrifying, and then slowly rose to another universe. That one is the patrol master in the space-time patrol organization. Hearing this, Suyi raised his brows and was a little surprised. To be reasonable, he always believed that the same people in different time and space should not end up on the same line. Now it seems that at that time, the time and space patroller Goku and Vegeta were only different in time and space, and the line was still on the same line as them. It's interesting. So, will Goku and Vegeta in Dragon Ball GT exist in this world as Super Saiyan 5? Suyi's eyes flashed, and suddenly felt that Faye was very interesting. You mean me in another time and space? When Sun Wukong heard the news of Wukong, the time and space patroller, he was immediately excited. You know, the two had a date when they were in prison Huoxing, and the next time they meet again, the two will definitely fight again. The two space-time patrollers on the ground immediately cowered and hurriedly kowtowed. Several gentlemen, we are very sorry for our offense, please forgive us. Bang bang bang. These two guys had a very strong desire to survive, and they kept kowtowing without stopping. For them, compared with their lives, what was dignity? 210. The world inside the body changes, and the chaotic aura enters the universe. Seeing the gestures of the two space-time patrolmen, Sun Wukong and the others immediately turned their attention to Suyi, waiting for Suyi to judge these two guys. The death penalty can be avoided, but the living crime cannot escape. Suyi indifferently stretched out a finger and pointed it towards the void, and then two rays of light entered the eyebrows of the two space-time patrolmen. These two guys trembled uncontrollably and suffered, which was far better than death. Ah! Suddenly, a burst of pain struck, and the two-time space patrolmen cried out in pain, rolling around with their heads in their arms. Let's go. Suyi glanced indifferently, and the death penalty has been forgiven, so this living crime is naturally very painful. 10 minutes of painful time, let them experience it, this is indeed a big punishment. A few people walked away slowly, but still could hear the screams of pain from the rear. Aren't these two guys going to be hurt to death? Sun Wukong turned around and asked in surprise. No, of course, if they can't take it for even 10 minutes, then the psychological quality is really bad enough. So, it is also possible that they will kill themselves. Su Yi smiled lightly, but he believed that these two guys would not commit suicide. A painful life is better than a happy death. For this kind of person who is greedy for life and fears death, it is not necessary to say what they will choose. Soon, Su Yi took them to the junction of this universe. This is the passage to another universe. Ordinary people are not qualified or have the strength to reach this place. Su Yi is naturally different, not to mention reaching this place, and now he just takes Sun Wukong and the others to the most central point of the Dragon Ball universe and does it casually. Several people entered this junction one after another and came to another universe. Now that Sun Wukong and the others are already very powerful, the point that they cannot survive in the universe has been broken by them. This universe feels a little more stressed than the previous one. Sun Wukong and others were slightly uncomfortable, feeling that they could make great progress just by surviving in the universe for a period of time. Seeing that they were struggling, Su Yi shook his head with a smile and said, "You should practice for a while in this universe, and then I will take you to the central planet of this big universe. There, masters are like clouds. If you can, growing up in that place is really growing up." Quote. That's great. Hearing Su Yi's words, Sun Wukong's face naturally showed excitement. For him, becoming stronger and stronger was his ultimate goal. Su Yi smiled slightly, and disappeared from everyone's sight hand in hand with her daughter Luli. I don't know what the fighting power of Big Brother Su Yi is now. I feel that even if we add up the fighting power that broke out, I am afraid it can't compare to him. Sun Wukong looked into the distance and sighed. A few people nodded in agreement. If Su Yi knew, he would definitely tell them. Even if the combat power of all of you is multiplied, it is not comparable to me. Indeed, the current Su Yi is no longer measurable by combat effectiveness. Not to mention that he is a sage of the great Tao in both flesh and soul, just say that his realm at this time is infinitely close to the realm of the Tao, so he is absolutely invincible. His strength is the top strength in the prehistoric world, and there is no one behind. In this even more incomparable Dragon Ball world, how could anyone compare his combat power with him? On Su Yi's side, and Su Luli entered a planet, the father and daughter started a journey to taste delicious food. At first, Luli didn't like to eat food. She always thought she would gain weight, but she was brought along by Su Yi, and she suddenly fell in love with food. And the most important thing is that Su Luli saw that she couldn't eat fat, so she followed Su Yi and began to like to eat delicious food. However, the planet they entered was still not very powerful. They didn't find any delicious food, so the two found CCFE, this planet, and finished their tour. Wait. Suddenly, Su Yi found that the world in his body had changed. If it was the world in his body, it would be better to say that the 12 universes that he had incorporated into the world in his body had suddenly undergone some changes. What's the matter, Dad? Su Luli looked at Su Yi, who suddenly stopped and asked strangely. I'll take you back first, and then I'll take you to have a good time when I go to the next planet. Su Yi smiled. Hearing this, Su Luli pursed her lips and nodded obediently. Su Yi also nodded and sent Su Luli back to the Earth of the 7th universe. Immediately, he appeared outside the 12 universes, frowning and watching a wave of spiritual energy slowly enter the 12 universes. In a universe. These auras flowed out from the world in his body at the beginning, and this was not a simple aura, but a chaotic aura. Chaos Reiki is not as good as Chaos Innate Reiki, but it is naturally much higher in quality than ordinary Reiki. Su Yi set off and followed the chaotic aura into the planets in each universe. He found that with the entry of the chaotic aura, all these planets became full of vitality. What is even more terrifying is that people on all planets have obtained preaching for no reason. What does this mean? Su Yi was stunned. This is a practice method in the prehistoric world. Has it invaded the dimensional world of Dragon Ball? It's amazing. Su Yi looked at several planets and found that it could be said to be the era of national chi refining. Chi training period, foundation building period, Jindan period, nascent soul period, spirit transformation. The powerhouses of all stages have survived, and the stronger people have survived the catastrophe, and even more immortal energy was born in their bodies, becoming the existence of the immortal level. Not only that, Suyi found something that surprised him even more, that is, his strength, which had not grown for many years, actually increased by a small amount. But don't underestimate this little sir. To really describe it, it can be said that such a little sir can be said to allow an ordinary person to slowly cultivate to the level of a golden immortal. Next, Suyi spent a year traveling through the 12 universes and found that most of the 12 universes in the Dragon Ball world have officially entered the era of national chi refining. Suyi sensed that, except for the powerful local people in the Dragon Ball world who did not practice cultivation, those who did not understand cultivation before were all practicing the technique of chi refining. 211. Goodbye King Quan, the Great Priest's invitation to battle. At this time, on all kings. After traveling for a year, Suyi came to this planet. Suyi was a little touched when he met the Great Priest and King Quan again. If he hadn't entered the prehistoric world, I'm afraid his current strength is still not enough to see Tilda. After all, he has cultivated more than 10,000 in the wild. After so much time, I am afraid that it is a pig to practice. I am afraid that it has reached a very high level of practice. Quanwangxing, Gong Suya goes straight all the way, and the passage is unobstructed. Soon, when he came to the most central area of Quanwangxing, he saw the Great Priest at the gate of a palace. At this time, the Great Priest looked at Suyi's full face with a smile on his face, put his hands behind his back, and said, "You count, but my junior is all ready." Hearing this, Suyi pouted. He naturally knew what this guy meant, but he would definitely not admit it. "I want to ask Quan Wang if he has felt anything in the past year." Suyi stepped forward, and the two walked side by side toward the palace. On the one hand, he opened his mouth and asked, "Change?" The Grand Priest frowned, shook his head and said, "I probably don't know, because I've been busy recently and I'm dealing with things." Quan Wang should have sensed that your current level looks very powerful, but there are actually too many things in this world that you can't touch. Suyi saw through the combat power of the Great Priest at a glance. This was a Guy-level master, and above the Beijing-level combat power master, he was a Guy-level master. 10,000 Beijing equals 1 Guy. And the strength of the Great Priest is a full 100 Guy. This kind of strength is actually not weak in most universes, but it is still too weak in front of Suyi's existence. Listen to what you said, Suyi, where has your fighting power reached? Why am I suddenly unable to see through you? The Great Priest suddenly stopped, turned his head and glanced at Suyi in amazement. Not only did he find that he couldn't see through Suyi, but he also found that he looked at this guy seriously, and his eyes were slightly aching. "My current strength is not bad, I don't know exactly." Suyi smiled slightly. Based on the combat power standard of Dragon Ball World, it is now completely impossible to measure his strength. Indeed, today's Suyi is close to the realm of the Great Tao, and even in the Great Wilderness, he is absolutely invincible. How can this kind of combat power be measured by the combat power of a dimensional world? Hearing Suyi's words, the High Priest's eyes lit up, and he was still very much looking forward to being able to let go of his fighting power with Suyi once. Now it seems that the opportunity has come. Thinking of this, the Great Priest coughed twice and said, "Suyi, plus the one time many years ago, we had a total of 2 discussions, and I lost both times. There are only 3 things. It's better to take advantage of your arrival today. Wang Xing, why don't we fight again today? Go first." Suyi smiled at him, then frowned. He was thinking. With his current strength, he can easily crush him. Don't say anything, just show a little bit of the truth. I am afraid that the Great Priest will be scared to the ground in minutes. How are you thinking? Having arrived at the very center of the palace, the Great Priest once again paused and asked expectantly. "Okay." Suyi pursed his lips and nodded in agreement. To be honest, this is actually a showdown without any suspense. However, since the Grand Priest wants to lose the third time, it is naturally impossible for him to reject him. After all, isn't it fulfilling a virtue? Katakana middle dot flowers katakana middle dot. Haha, good. After you talk to King Quan, let's have a good fight. Hearing that Suyi agreed, the Great Priest should not mention how excited he was at this time. Suyi smiled lightly. Now the level of the duel is different. In the past, he was naturally very excited. Because this is a very good sparring, his strength must be a flying growth. But now, with Suyi's strength, there is no need to say more. If he wants to crush the Great Priest, he can ruthlessly crush him in 0.001 seconds. However, one must be kind. One of Suyi's wives is the daughter of a high priest. He is naturally not too embarrassed to do something that doesn't give face to the high priest. Soon, the two of them came to this small room, and the short-statured King Quan was sitting on a seat, and then played each and every small beads with his hands in every possible way. At this time, Suyi took a closer look, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Good guy, where are the little beads? These are the planets. Master Quanwang, Suyi has something to talk to you about when he arrives. The Grand Priest took a few steps forward and bowed respectfully to King Quan on the seat. Suyi, you finally came to me. King Quan's incomparably tender voice sounded in the entire small room. Suyi heard that this little guy was happy from the bottom of his heart when he saw him. Da da da. King Quan jumped directly from the seat, then came to Suyi, reached out, jumped up and grabbed his hand, and said, Suyi, can you play glass beads with me? Let's see who we are. Play more accurately. 212. Can't wait to find the abused priest. Bouncing glass balls. When Suyi heard King Quan's words, he blinked and looked at the small beads in front of him. After a closer look, it was easy to see that the beads were actually planets. Bounce the planets with living creatures around like small beads. Good guy. This little guy, King Quan, is too playful. You know, if the planets collide, you don't have to think about it, and it will definitely cause an earthquake or even direct world destruction. No, I'm here today to ask you, have you felt the changes in the 12 universes recently? Suyi asked. Hearing Suyi's words, King Quan stretched out his hand and scratched the back of his head, and said in surprise, did something big happen in the 12 universes? He is completely a little, 353, child, which is cursed by the dragon god Salama, and he has the same mind as a child all his life. Therefore, he basically doesn't take care of things, it's the Great Priest who takes care of things. And recently, the Great Priest has something to do, so he didn't notice the changes in the 12 universes. Is that so? Okay. Suyi nodded. He believed that King Quan and others should soon know the changes in the 12 universes. Then, can you play with me? King Quan was still thinking about playing, staring at Suyi with wide eyes. Seeing King Quan's pitiful appearance, Suyi shook his head and laughed, nodded and said, okay, you want to play with the balls, right? After playing with the Grand Priest last time, I feel really good. Quan Wang's little face was full of excitement, remembering the game of playing balls with the Great Priest last time, and now he is very happy. Suyi tilted his head and glanced at the High Priest, and found that this guy was embarrassed to look at him at all. Obviously, he also knew that what he did was wrong. But there is no way, his main purpose is to make the Lord Quanwang happy, so playing some harmless games, the consequences are not too serious. If Suyi knew what the Great Priest was thinking at the moment, I am afraid that Suyi would definitely choose to have a good discussion with him on the spot. You must know that although the 12 universes in the Dragon Ball world are all in his body, many planets in it are controlled by the Quanwang. He's not worried about Earth, but he's worried about other planets. He naturally didn't care before, but now he must pay attention. Because the people on these planets practice the Tao passed down in his world, in other words, these people who are practicing are people under his sect. Preaching is a matter of great merit in the prehistoric world, not to mention, now he is passing on the Tao of the two-dimensional world. This is equivalent to opening up wasteland for each world, which is even more a matter of great merit. The most important thing is that these people practice, and he can share their practice, which is enough for Su Yi to pay attention. Su Yi, do you have any other beads? King Quan shouted twice, pulling Su Yi out of his thoughts. No problem. Su Yi smiled slightly, grabbed his right hand in the void, and bursts of 7 colored rays of light suddenly appeared, and then he rubbed them into 7 colored beads. Wow, it's so pretty. Seeing these 7 colored beads, King Quan's face was even more excited, and he clapped his hands in admiration. If you want to play small beads in the future, then use these small beads as a tool for entertainment. Su Yi smiled and said, not only that, these beads can also change colors and become another game called Bubble Bobble. He recalled a mobile phone game Bubble Bobble that he used to play when he was a child in his previous life. The temptation for children was a surefire way. At the beginning, when he played this game for the first time, he really wanted to play it all the time. Of course, it was also the reason why he was still young at that time and didn't have much contact with new things, so he was obsessed with this little game. However, this does not deny the playability of this small game of Bubble Bobble. Bubble Bobble. Hearing Su Yi's words, King Quan's eyes widened, and a tender voice sounded, Su Yi, what is Bubble Bobble? Su Yi rubbed his chin with his hand and thought about it. Since the bubble poppers have appeared, why didn't he come up with a more playable little game like Russian cubes? Thinking of it, he did it. Su Yi gave the 7 colored beads in front of him the ability to change, and then the index finger of his right hand pointed at the center of King Quan's eyebrows, and a ray of light flashed between his eyebrows. Wow! After a few seconds, King Quan's excited voice sounded in the field. The great priest looked at him strangely. He had never seen King Quan so excited for so many years. Bang bang bang. King Quan was clapping all the time, and he was so excited that he couldn't be more excited. It's great. It's great. Su Yi, you two little games are really great. This comes from the earth in the previous life, and this world naturally does not have it. He felt the gameplay from Su Yi, and naturally he could see the interest of these two mini-games. Haha, let's do it. Play when you're bored, remember, but don't play with planets as little beads. Su Yi laughed. Don't worry. Quan Wang excitedly ran to the side and started to play Bubble Bobble. The great priest on the other side looked at Quan Wang who was playing Bubble Bobby strangely, and didn't understand what was so fun about this game. The idea of a great priest is indeed normal, after all, it is like an adult and a child. Today's adults, how can they play such puzzle games like children? 5.1 Su Yi, let's go, Quan Wangxing has a battle arena. Let's go and learn from each other. Seeing that Su Yi was fine, the great priest came to Su Yi and smiled. Seeing this old boy looking for abuse so eagerly, Su Yi smiled in his heart, knowing that he would soon regret finding him to learn from. You know, the current Su Yi is not the time when he relied on the power of the law of the universe in the ancient times, and the difference in fighting power between the two was not too big. Right now, he is absolutely invincible. Soon, the two came to the battle arena on Quan Wang in turn. This arena was originally a battle arena used to make King Quan happy, and there were often powerful fighters performing battles for King Quan. 213. The second wave of demons, 1/6. Yi Chu nodded and didn't say much. In fact, his talent for kendo is indeed a little high, and the most important thing is that his strength is much higher than those of these demons. In addition, it is a sneak attack. Naturally, he can kill them all at once. Among these people, only one of the demons is a master in the realm of the whole king, and the strength of the others is even lower. If I can't kill them all at once, I'm afraid I will feel a little ashamed. Let's go to the secret realm temple and take a look. Yi Chu opened his mouth, and then Yi Chu and Yamosi walked into the secret realm temple together. Soon they saw the secret realm passage. When they saw the secret realm passage, they both frowned slightly, because at this time they felt the secret passage is a little different from what they had when they first opened it. At this time, a breath came from it, which was also very profound, and carried some evil aura. This breath seems to be the breath of the devil, but it is more intense than the evil breath of the devil, and they also feel that there is a force coming along the passage in the secret passage, and it will take a long time to reach this place. 14 inches Yi Chu, it looks like someone will come over in the secret passageway soon. Yamozi opened his mouth and became a little wary in his heart. Before, they guessed that these demons might have come from the secret passage. At this time, they felt that someone might come from the secret passage. If there is a passage in the secret, if someone came over, they could guess in their hearts who it was. Not long after that, there may be more demons in the secret passage. When Yamozi opened his mouth, he felt a little vigilant in his heart. After hearing what Yamozi said, Yi Chu also frowned slightly, and then his brows stretched out. Yamoshi, you are right. In this secret passage, there may be a lot of demons coming, but it's nothing. Since they dare to come here, then I will destroy them. Yi Chu opened his mouth. After hearing what Yi Chu said, Yamozi was also surprised. He didn't know why Yi Chu said this, and he didn't know what Yi Chu was going to do. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chu opened the system store again. After he opened the system store, he spent a lot of exchange points to exchange for a very powerful array, which made him feel a little pain in his heart. The power of this great formation was so powerful that even if someone stronger than King Quan fell into it and died, only someone as powerful as Yi Chu would survive inside. After Yi Chu exchanged this formation, he took out the light bulb, and this formation also looked unremarkable. It looks like an ordinary disc. When Yi Chu took out a disc, Yamozi was also a little surprised. Yi Chu, what is this disc you took out? What do you want to do with this disc? Yamozi opened his mouth, and Yi Chu began to explain when he heard Yamozi like this. Yamasi, this disc is a very powerful formation. As long as this formation is arranged here, when these devils come from the secret passage, they will step into this formation, and then you can activate this formation and kill them. If the people in the secret passage are not demons, then I will not attack them at will. Yi Chu opened his mouth. After hearing Yi Chu's words, Yamozi was also surprised in his heart. At the same time, he also had some expectations. If Yi Chu could really use this formation to kill all the demons who came over, it would be a good thing. But Yamozi still has some doubts in his heart. Yi Chu, can this little disc of yours really be able to do such terrifying things? After Yamozi opened his mouth to hear what Yamozi said, Yi Chu nodded fiercely. You'll just have to wait and see. Yi Chu opened his mouth, and after hearing Yi Chu say this, Yamozi nodded, and then the two of them felt a more turbulent aura coming from the secret passage, as if someone was going to come out the next moment. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chu hurriedly removed the great formation from the surrounding passage, and then the two of them were hidden around. When the figures of the two were hidden around, they were also staring at the secret passage, and Yamozi's heart was beating constantly, because he felt that if this formation could not stop the demons who came over, if so, I am afraid that they will soon face a war. Not long after that, the two of them saw a little figure appearing in the secret passage, and Yi Chu and Yamozi became a little wary in their hearts. Haha, we finally came to this world. The waste of the devil Salo brought hundreds of devils last time, but he was not able to conquer this world, so let us come again. At this time, hundreds of demons came out from the secret passage to the inside, and the leading demon said this. Yamozi was also a little panicked, because he saw that the strength of the leader was even stronger than the strength of the previous devil Salo. 330. The faces of these demons also looked very arrogant. They seemed to have seen the scene where they were going to conquer Universe 12. At this moment, Yi Chu's heart moved slightly. Formation, start, destroy. Yi Chu spoke softly, and then the formation began to activate, and these demons also felt a dangerous aura. Immediately after they saw their body, a large formation suddenly rose up, and this large formation surrounded them with an extremely terrifying aura, making these demons feel as if they would die in the next moment. Damn, there is an ambush. The leading demon said. His name is Demon Luodi, and Demon Luodi's strength is also very powerful, and his status in the Demon 12 universe is even higher than that of Demon Salo. At this moment, the Devil Rodi looked around, and suddenly his eyes narrowed a little. He saw two people appear outside the big formation. These two people were Yichu and Yamozi. You are right, you are indeed in the scheme. This time you should keep your own life, and then go where you come from. Yichu opened his mouth, and the Devil Luodi was also furious in his heart. 214. Blocking the Otherworld Channel, 2/6. Who are you? You dare to ambush us here, but what can you do if you ambush us? You want to kill us with such a large formation. When I break through this formation, I will kill you immediately. Demon Rodi said this. The other demons were very angry. They had already discovered at this time that Yichu's aura didn't seem to be very strong. Each of them could easily kill Yichu, but the fact that Yamoshi next to Yichu had the power of a king, made them a little surprised in their hearts. From their point of view, Yichu, who is so low strength, dared to plot against them, was simply courting death. How could they know that Yichu's strength was incomparably high, but it just didn't explode? Let's talk about it when you get through this big battle. After Yichu heard the threats from these demons, his expression did not change much. This great formation, which he has exchanged with many exchange points, is extremely powerful. It is also extremely difficult to get through this great formation. He wants to see how these demons can survive this great formation. Immediately afterwards, the faces of these devils began to change greatly. They found that this large formation was countless times more terrifying than they had imagined. Murder spreads. Puff puff. In a short period of time, more than a dozen demons had their heads separated. After they died, the appearance of their death was terrible, and even their bodies turned into a cloud of blood. After seeing this scene, the Devil Rodi's complexion also changed greatly. At this time, he felt that this large formation even threatened his own life, and his strength surpassed other devils. I don't know how much, even himself there will be life-threatening dangers, so there is no need to say more about other people. Damn, don't we have to die before we conquer the 12 universes when we come to the 12 universes this time? Quote. The Devil Rodi thought in his heart, but he couldn't do anything to resist. At this time, he could only use all his strength to resist this big formation. Although the demons inside were struggling, their struggles were useless. The strength of this great formation was extremely powerful, not to mention Yichu and Yamoshi were staring at them. Immediately after that, 90% of the people inside had died, and although some people did not die, their bodies were seriously injured, and it seemed that they would not last long. And the reason why these devils can persist for so long is also because their recovery ability is extremely high. At the end, only the demon Rodi continued to persevere in it, and the rest of the demons were already dead. At this time, Yichu suddenly opened the big formation. The reason why Yichu opened this great formation was also because of this. The last remaining demon, the demon Luodi, was no longer a threat to him, and Yichu wanted to use the demon Luodi to hone his skills. About yourself. Damn, I'm going to kill you. The moment Yichu unraveled the great formation, the Devil Rodi had already killed Yichu with a bloody face. Because the devil was originally very bloodthirsty and cruel, and at this time, the Devil Rodi saw that many of his subordinates had died around him, and all the culprits were mainly because of Yichu, so at this time, when Demon Rodi saw Yichu, his face immediately turned red, and he attacked Yichu. Yichu's expression didn't change when he watched the Demon Rodi attack him. Then, when the Demon Rodi attacked his body, Yichu raised his hand gently, and then the punch hits the chest of the Devil Rodi. Bang! The Demon Luodi was smashed far away by Yichu's punch, and this was not only the reason why Yichu was extremely powerful, but also the reason why the Demon Luodi had consumed a lot of power before. At this time, the Demon Rodi was smashed by Yichu and spat out blood, and he felt a lot of pain inside his body. Super Saiyan Transformation. Immediately afterwards, Yichu activated his own Super Race God transformation. After Yichu activated his Super Race God transformation, he walked towards the Devil Luodi step by step. Seeing Yichu walking towards him, the Devil Luodi felt as if a god's mansion was walking towards him. He was also extremely panicked. Then Yichu walked to the Devil Luodi's side, coldly. Look at the Devil Rodi. Devil Rodi, remember my name. My name is Yichu. I was the one who killed you. When you get to hell, don't forget my name. Yichu opened his mouth, and then he took out the divine sword to sharpen it. When Yichu took out the divine sword to sharpen the divine sword, the demon Rodi also felt incomparable panic in his heart. He felt that the sharpening sword could be killed when he swung it at once, and at this time, the Devil Luodi also knew why the group of devils who came before sent out a message for help. It turns out that in the 12 universes with such a powerful master. Immediately after, Yichu picked up the divine sword and swung it with a sword. The light of the sword fell into the sky. Immediately after that, the head of the Devil Luodi was already chopped off. His blood was on the ground, and his spirit had been completely wiped out by the divine sword. At this time, his body turned into powder and died completely. That's great, Yichu, all the demons who came here this time have been killed by us. I didn't expect the power of your great formation to be much stronger than I imagined, much stronger than you said. At this time, Yamosi came over and said to Yichu, Nuo Qians, and he was incomparably admired in their hearts. With this big formation, they probably don't need to worry about this secret passage. Yamosi, it seems that we guessed wrong before. This secret passage does not lead to the larger world. It is very likely that he leads to the world of the devil. But it's also possible that the devil's world is just a little bit of that grand world, so as long as we enter it, we might be able to enter that grand world. Yichu opened his mouth, and after hearing what Yichu said, Yamosi also nodded. Okay, because there will be demons coming in this secret passage, and I also plan to arrange this formation around this secret passage. If it is a demon, this formation can be activated by itself, and then kill those devils. At this time, Yichu opened his mouth and said. 215. Yichu's counterattack, 3/6. After hearing Yichu say this, Yamosi was also delighted in his heart, and then the two of them arranged this large formation around the secret passageway, and Yichu also arranged this formation to be extraordinarily hidden, unless if the formation is activated, otherwise no one will find this formation. After doing these things, Yichu and Yamosi felt relieved, and then Yichu and Yamosi walked out of the secret realm together. Not long after, Yichu and Yamosi returned to the 12 universes at one time. Yichu, what are you going to do after we come back this time? Yamosi looked at Yichu and asked. Yamosi, when I go back this time, we will prepare to start a big counterattack. At this time, we already know the weakness of the devil, and the reinforcements of the devil have been blocked by us. If we don't counterattack at this time, when will we wait? Yichu opened his mouth, and now he is very confident in his heart. When he heard Yichu say this, Yamosi's heart began to boil. Okay, if that's the case, then I'll follow you and have a good time. Yamosi opened his mouth, and he already hated these devils 200 in his heart. At this time, the 12 universe is still in a period of dire straits, because although the devils are low-key, they are still conquering and invading the 12 universe. Like ants. Under the lewd power of these demons, there are also many masters of the 12 universes who have taken refuge in those demons. And unlike these demons, those who were originally masters in the 12 universes helped the demons to kill the creatures in the 12 universes after they joined the demons, and sometimes their methods were even better than those of the demons. Cruelty. Not long after that, Yichu had already returned to his own planet, and at this time, the devil Salo also got the news that Yichu had been to the secret realm before. What? Yichu actually went to that secret realm before? The devil Salo said this, and his face became extremely gloomy. No, it's like I have some demons waiting around that secret realm, I don't know how they are now. Demon Sorrow opened his mouth. At this time, his subordinates also reported to Demon Sorrow, saying that all the demons who were waiting around the secret temple had been beheaded by Yecho. When he heard the news, the devil Salo was even more panicked, but he kept pacing back and forth in the same place, but he didn't know what to do. After Yechu came back, he immediately gathered everyone, and when he gathered everyone, he immediately told his thoughts. King Quan, spread the news that the devil's weakness is the soul to the 12 universes, and at the same time convey the news to the 12 universes, saying that I will attack the devil next, so that they will be ready to echo me. Yechu opened his mouth, and after hearing Yechu say this, everyone began to cheer up, and Wukong clenched his fists while standing beside him. During this period of time, the demons have been running rampant in the 12 universes, and Goku also felt his weakness. He desperately wanted to improve his strength. Under such a huge pressure, the strengths of Goku and Vegeta are also the upgrade is faster. King Quan nodded, and immediately after King Quan spread Yechu's words to Universe 12, and after Yechu's words spread to Universe 12 also began to boil. Master Yechu is going to counterattack these demons. You must know that there are hundreds of demons. Didn't you hear the news from Lord Yechu? Lord Yechu said that the weakness of the devils is the soul, and Lord Yechu heard that he also repelled a group of devils. I think Lord Yechu can really clean up these devils. Quote. Someone in the 12 universe said that their mood was also very excited, and at this time they thought of those who had betrayed the 12 universe and followed those demons to deal with the 12 universe, and they became a little resentful in their hearts. Those masters who betrayed the 12 universe before and instead turned to the devil, they will definitely regret it very much. At this time, in Universe 12, those masters who had taken refuge with the devil before heard the news, and their hearts became a little panic. It is impossible for Yechu to defeat these demons. You must know that these demons are extremely powerful, and they heard that reinforcements will come, so we don't have to be afraid. These masters who took refuge in the devil thought so in their hearts, but they were just deceiving themselves, and they were still extremely frightened in their hearts. However, it was precisely because of their fear in their hearts that they not only did not give up on the demons, but instead relied on them even more closely. However, these devils don't look down on them too much, just because they still need them now, so they treat those who rely on them well. Lord Demon Salo, Yechu wants to attack us, what should we do at this time? A devil came to the side of the devil Salo and asked, and after the devil Salo heard his subordinates ask this way, he also became silent. What else can we do? Gather all the demons and start defending. Demon Saruo said, because when they gather all the people together, their strength will also be stronger, and at this time none of them can defeat Yechu, so if they spread out, it is very difficult. It might be easier to defeat Yechu. But what they didn't know was that the reason why Yechu didn't make a sneak attack or a thunderbolt attack was because he just wanted the devil Salo to gather all the devils. In this way, he can kill all the demons in one fell swoop. Otherwise, if these demons are lurking in the 12 universe, maybe if they want to find it, it will take some effort, and it will bring more losses to the 12 universe. Not long after that, King Quan had already summoned a lot of gods of destruction, as well as experts such as Kai Wangshan, and many other experts in the 12 universes, and their strength was not weak. And they were also standing below Yechu, staring at Yechu in the sky. Are you ready? Now pick up the weapons in your hands. Follow me and kill these demons who invaded our 12 universes. Yechu raised his divine sword, and his voice rumbled around, making everyone feel a little blood boiling in their hearts. 216. Attack on the 8th universe, 4/6. Yechu stood in the sky, his figure was tall, and everyone below began to cheer. They couldn't wait to fight those demons, because the demons caused a lot of damage to their 12 universes during this time. The crisis filled their hearts with anger, and even broke some families. Although they are very powerful, their hearts are not much different from ordinary people. They also care about their families very much. Even if their family members are not strong, in their hearts, their family members it is also the most precious, instead of being an ant like other weak people. Those devils came to the 12 universe. No matter whether they were high or low, they were regarded as ants, which filled their hearts with anger. Lord Yi Chu, we can't wait to fight those demons, please lead us to fight those demons. At this time, a god of destruction stood up. Although he was a god of destruction, he was alone at this time, because his 2 sons were not god of destruction, and their strength was not much. When he was asleep, his son had already been beheaded. So when he woke up, he was also very angry, but his strength was weak. At this time, Yi Chu summoned the masters of 12 universes and wanted to deal with these demons together, so he also stood up immediately. Came out. Okay, now that everyone is ready, let's go with me. King Quan, tell me where those devils are now. Yi Chu spoke to King Quan. After hearing what Yi Chu said, King Quan also stood up. During this period of time, King Quan had been monitoring those demons, so he knew where those demons were at this time. Yi Chu, those demons also gathered all their people. Apart from those demons, there are many original people in our 12 universe. They also help those demons to stop us. During this time since then, those people in our 12 universe who have helped the demons have also done a lot of cruel and inhuman things, and some things are even more cruel than those demons. Quote. King Quan said this, although he has always been very indifferent to the life in the 12 universe, but when he saw the foreign demons wantonly destroying the environment here and killing the life here, he also felt a little bit in his heart. Anger. In fact, don't look at the fact that he would destroy a universe at will, but he has been staying in this place for so many years, and he also has a little feeling for this 12 universe in his heart. I didn't expect them to gather together. They gathered together, probably thinking that I might have some difficulty in dealing with them, but they must have thought a lot, so I would be easy to deal with them. Yi Chu opened his mouth and said, he couldn't wait in his heart to kill the demon, and then Yi Chu led all the people towards the place where the demon was. The place where the devil is located is the 8th universe. The 8th universe has been occupied by the devil at this time. Except for the devil, all of them are the same party of the devil. Those co-conspirators are all demons. During this period of time, the original evil beings in the 12 universes are the people who took refuge in them. These people are now standing in the same boat as the demons, and they even do more than the demons. Hateful. The 8th universe has been almost completely invaded by the devils. Even those creatures who did not take refuge in the devils do not dare to resist the devils now, but although they did not dare to resist the devils, they only seem to obey on the surface. In fact, they still want to resist. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. On this day, they seemed to hear some cheering sounds from a distance, and that sound made the starry sky shake a little bit. Immediately after the beings in the 8th universe, their hearts began to get excited. They raised their heads and found that a group of people had appeared at the edge of the 8th universe. The front of the group was Yi Chu, a group of masters led by Yi Chu. Toward the 8th-12th universe. Their aura was extremely majestic. Yi Chu held the divine sword and looked very tall and tall. There seemed to be a ray of light from their bodies, and this ray of light seemed to illuminate the 8th universe a little bit. Lord Yi Chu. It's Lord Yi Chu. Lord Yi Chu and the others came here this time. Did they want to attack the devil? Quote. At this time, someone saw Yi Chu and the others, and then everyone saw Yi Chu and the others. Everyone started to get excited. If Yi Chu really defeated all the demons here, then they would also be able to be free. During this period of time, they had been oppressed by these demons. In fact, they already wanted to resist. This when they saw the people led by Yi Chu coming, they couldn't wait to resist. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chu led a group of masters to several planets, and then wiped out the few demons on this planet, as well as those demons' accomplices. 0. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chu led a group of masters towards the 8th universe in an unstoppable manner, and in the center of the 8th universe were those demons gathered. Those demons gathered together at this time, wanting to gather all their strength to fight against Yi Chu. At this time, Mo Ren Saro was also a little flustered in his heart, because he felt that he had sent the news of calling for reinforcements to the demon universe very early, but there had been no news for so long. There are also some concerns. Didn't the reinforcements come back, he thought to himself. But he didn't know that Yichu had set up a very terrifying formation in front of the secret passage, and after his reinforcements came here, all of them were wiped out. Therefore, no reinforcements are coming now, and the last hope in the Devil Salo's heart is gradually shattered. Yichu led a group of masters to come, and on the way Yichu, after he eliminated those demons' comrades, the people on those planets also picked up the sharp swords in their hands, and followed Yichu to attack stand-up. The entire 8th universe is a scene of war and flames, and the situation is pouring towards Yichu's side. Not much time passed. Yichu had already seen the Devil Salo, the more than 100 devils beside him, and the comrades around the Devil Salo who had joined the devil. Sergeant. 217. Salo's threat 5/6. Hundreds of demons gathered at this time, and their strength was also very terrifying, but when they looked at Yichu coming from a distance, they felt a little fear in their hearts. Although Yichu had many masters behind him, they were only worried about Yichu alone, because Yichu might be stronger than all of them combined, and Yichu could still target them. The way of the soul. Especially when they saw the divine sharpening sword in Yichu's hand, they all felt a little palpitated in their hearts. Yichu held the divine sword, with a shimmer of light flowing on it, as if a murderous intent pierced into their hearts, causing them to feel a little suffocated inside. At this time, Moren Saro was also a little flustered in his heart. At this time, he still knew in his heart that it was impossible for the reinforcements in the demon cosmos to come to 700 inches, so he was also a little flustered in his heart. Because if they defend, let's not say whether they can defend, even if they can defend now, they may not be able to defend in the future. Yichu, can I give you a suggestion? At this time, the Devil Saluo suddenly looked at Yichu and said this, and Yichu also slowly walked towards him. Why, what are you trying to say? Are you going to surrender to me at the end? Yichu opened his mouth and looked at the Devil Salo coldly. No matter what the Devil Salo said, he was firm in his heart and wanted to kill the Devil Salo. Yichu, if you want to destroy me, even if you destroy us, you will suffer a lot in the end, and it's not good for you. Now if you can let us go, we'll be fine. Living in this 12 universes will not bother you anymore, and we can even retreat to our own universe first. Quote. After hearing the words of the Devil Salo, the devils next to the Devil Salo were also very surprised, and the devil comrades who joined the Devil Salo were also very shocked in their hearts. Because it seems that the demon Sorrow has already bowed his head to Yichu at this time. If the demon Sorrow surrenders, they may be very miserable. Maybe the demon Sorrow will be forgiven by Yichu and allow them to live in this universe. But their consequences will always be very tragic. They may be beheaded by one who is left, so they are also very panicked, afraid that Yichu will agree to Salo's statement. Yichu looked at their expressions and knew the thoughts in their hearts, but Yichu couldn't agree to the thoughts of the Devil Salo, and he couldn't let any of the devils go. Because these demons have caused a lot of disasters in the 12 universes during this time, he has long hated these demons in his heart. Now he comes with unstoppable power, but the demons want to fight against them. How could this be possible? Sorrow, the devil, I think you really think too much. You caused so many disasters in our 12 universe before, how can I let you go now? I want you to die. I want all your demons, everyone is going to die. If I don't do this, I may be ashamed of those 12 universe beings who have been beheaded. Yichu opened his mouth. After Yichu heard what Yichu said, the Devil Salo's complexion also changed dramatically, and then his complexion became a little grim. He felt that Yichu's tone was very firm. Look. It seemed impossible to refute. Okay, Yichu, I'll ask you one last time, do you really want to make such a decision? You know that if you make such a decision, a lot of people behind you may die, although you won't suffer any harm. The demon Sorrow spoke. After hearing what the demon Sorrow said, Yichu also nodded fiercely. After seeing Yichu nod, the demon Sorrow also gave up the last thought in his heart. The complexion also became hideous. Okay, Yi Chu, if you just come over now, I will destroy all the planets beside me. At this time, the devil Salo spoke, and behind him also held several life planets and innocent creatures on them. Yi Chu's heart moved slightly after hearing what the devil said, and he was also a little worried, because the 7 Super Dragon Balls were combined with the resurrected Dragon God before, so this time the Super Dragon Ball was also combined with the Dragon God. At the same time, there is no Super Dragon Ball in the 12 universe. So if there is something in the 12 universe at this time, it will be difficult to revive it again, because Super Dragon Ball has disappeared. Damn, you actually want to use this to threaten me. Yi Chu's complexion changed. Okay, don't do this for now. In fact, we still have room for negotiation. Please don't get excited. Yi Chu opened his mouth and said this, and after hearing Yi Chu say this, a little smile appeared on the face of the devil Salo. But he didn't know that Yi Chu did this because he wanted to delay a little bit of time, because he had a system, as long as he was given a little time, he would be able to exchange the corresponding things, and then rescue these people. System space, open. At this time, Yi Chu thought in his heart, and then the system space opened again, unfolding a dazzling array of functions and items, and then Yi Chu discovered an item. Chenkin's small move disposable scroll. Yi Chu's heart moved slightly when he saw this scroll. Seeing the introduction of this scroll means that you can transfer a lot of things to the place you want at one time. And as long as this scroll is exchanged, it is possible to transfer all the life planets around the devil Salo. In this case, the plan of the devil Salo can be completely destroyed, and he can attack the devil Salo unscrupulously. Yi Chu took a look at the exchange points of this scroll. The 3.4 exchange points of this scroll were not very small, but they didn't make him feel very painful, so Yi Chu firmly exchanged this scroll of Chenkin's small transfer. But Yi Chu, how do you want us to trust you? Let us hurt you a little first. At this time, the demon Sorrow opened his mouth. His words became more and more excessive, and his demands became more and more excessive. After hearing what the demon Sorrow said, Yi Chu's expression didn't seem to change. The Yamozi their interview went upheaval. Yi Chu, you must not listen to them. If they hurt you, they might attack us madly, and more people will die. So at this time, you can only let all the people on the living planet were sacrificed, and then the entire 12 universes were rescued. 218. Unstoppable, 6/6. Yamozi opened his mouth, and after hearing what Yamozi said, the faces of the people on the life planet next to the devil Salo all changed, and their hearts became very frightened, lest Yi Chu promise the devil Salo's statement. Yi Chu, what is your decision? Tell me quickly. Demon Salo looked at Yi Chu, and after hearing this, Yi Chu also had a little smile on his face. Well, since you're going to ask me about my final decision, then I'll tell you, my final decision is. Yi Chu opened his mouth, and when you said that, he put his hand behind him, and the Chenkin small shifting scroll also appeared behind his hand, and then Yi Chu used the Chenkin small shifting scroll. Immediately afterwards, a ray of light emanated from the scroll, and the ray of light was very obscure, and then we instantly spread to the life planets around the devil Salo, and then this power covered those living planets, followed by the devil Salo. The complexion began to change greatly. And the life planets next to Demon Salo suddenly disappeared in place, and then appeared next to Yi 14 Chu, and Demon Salo's complexion also changed drastically. How is it possible? Where did these life planets go? How could they go to your side in an instant? The devil Sorrow spoke. At this time, he realized that he had fallen for Yi Chu's plan. Yi Chu was actually delaying time before, and he also used this time. Move to his side. And at this time, when they saw that they had reached Yi Chu's side, the creatures on these life planets became a little more stable. Thank you Lord Yi Chu for protecting us. Lord Yi Chu, let's kill these devils now. The people on these life planets knelt down to Yi Chu and said, their voices converged and reached Yi Chu's ears. Yi Chu nodded after hearing their words. Kill. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chu didn't need to say more, and his expression turned cold. Then he took all the masters and charged towards the demons. Yi Chu charged at the front, raising his divine slicing sword in his hand. When Yi Chu rushed over, he had already activated his super race god transformation and the realm of the ultimate freedom. Become. The field of Zizai Ji Gong is very magical. It can not only weaken the enemy, but also give some bonuses to one's own people. So whether it's a kill or a support, it's all very good. Yi Chu's vitality was also entangled on the divine sword, and there was a faint brilliance on the divine sword, and some sword energy even faintly scattered from above. When he saw Yi Chu rushing over, the demon Salo's expression changed again and again. What decision could he make at this time? He could only defend or attack Yi Chu, but when he saw Yi Chu's imposing manner, the demon Salo knew in his heart that they couldn't beat Yi Chu, so he could only defend. Everyone is ready for the final decision. First defend me against their attacks. The devil Salo spoke, and then he opened their defenses, but their defenses were vulnerable to Yi Chu. Yi Chu led countless masters from the 12 universes. Not only were they very numerous, but the strength is also stronger than them, so the defense of the devil is naturally unable to resist Yi Chu and the others. After seeing their defenses being forced again and again, the demon Sorrow also became a little worried in his heart. At this time, the demon Sorrow looked at the comrades behind them, and his face also flashed a wicked light. What are you still doing? You didn't join us before, and now it's time to take advantage of you. Why don't you hurry up and fight Yi Chu and the others for me? After hearing what the devil Salo said, the faces of those experts who took refuge in the devil also changed greatly. The reason why they took refuge in the devil Salo before was to survive better, but they thought that the devil would defeat Yi Chu, but now the situation tells them they were wrong. But in their hearts, they felt that their thoughts were not right. They just felt that they had made a wrong decision. They just hated in their hearts. This is where their inferiority lies, and Yi Chu also knows their character, so this time, he definitely doesn't intend to let them go. And when they saw that these comrades seemed hesitant to go forward, the demons also changed some resentment in their hearts. It's really rubbish. I was very good to you before. I didn't expect you to be such a rubbish at this time that you didn't even dare to step forward. The devil Salo said this, and then slammed it hard, killing a lot of these comrades, screaming constantly. And when they saw these devils, they became a little sad and angry when they shot. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chu felt that there was some drama. Some of the people who had taken refuge with the devil before 517 actually attacked the devil, but they were the opponents of the devil, and they were soon beheaded by the devil. A lot of people were killed, and the rest of the people also fled. Devil Salo, when you demons came to our 12 universes, you should have thought of your current results, and you still want to resist. I tell you, it's too late. Prepare for death, go to hell after inside, remember my name. Quote. Yi Chu opened his mouth, and after hearing Yi Chu's words, the expressions of these demons kept changing, and then Yi Chu led the people to attack the demons. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chu led his subordinates to fight against these demons. Yi Chu's every move was extremely powerful. Moreover, because the vitality was wrapped around the divine sword, the attack also carried some of the divine sword's attack on the spirit. Therefore, the sword chi that Yi Chu swayed through the divine sword was also a very powerful threat to these demons. For ordinary demons, Yi Chu is almost a sword. After seeing Yi Chu's movements and power, the masters behind Yi Chu cheered in their hearts, and Yamoshi also seemed to see that victory had come. 219. Yi Chu's Super Race God 3, 1/6. There are also many masters who have taken refuge in the devils, and they have already fled in all directions at this time, and when Yamoshi and the others saw these masters who had taken refuge with the devils before, they also became very resentful in their hearts. Immediately afterwards, many people went up to chase and kill them, and these masters who had taken refuge with the devil before went. So in the center of the 8th universe, the starry sky is filled with the breath of blood, and corpses are constantly falling in the air, but most of these corpses are demons, as well as the corpses of masters who had taken refuge in the demons before. Because the devil and the others have long lost the courage to fight against Yi Chu and the others, and the masters who have joined the devil have no confidence in their hearts, especially when they see Yi Chu, their hearts are also infinitely frightened. In addition to these demons, they are only powerful in single combat, but they have no advantage in team combat. And when Yi Chu led these masters to fight, they seem to form an effect of 1 plus 1 being greater than 2, so with the posture of destroying and withering, they quickly killed these demons and not many were left. The devil Salo had countless blood on his body, and his eyes were full of horror, and he retreated step by step, while Yi Chu was also standing in front of him, walking towards the devil Salo step by step. Salo he stepped back, but there was no way behind him. Yi Chu, I beg you to let me go, and I can be your subordinate. At this time, the devil Sorrow opened his mouth, and he felt a little regret in his heart, not only regretting that he was against Yi Chu, but also regretting that he came to this universe. When he was in the demon universe before, he heard that the passage to Universe 12 was opened, and he wanted to let some people enter Universe 12. There was still some joy in his heart, so he led a group of people, and soon passed the selection. To enter the 12 universes, I feel that I can be the master of the 12 universes, but at this time I regret that I came to this place. Who knew that there was a master like Yi Chu in Universe 12? If he had known earlier, he would not have come here at all. Do you think it's possible for me to let you go? I've told you so clearly before, and you dared to threaten me before. Now it's time for you to make consequences for your previous actions. Yi Chu opened his mouth, and then they picked up their divine slicing sword and waved it fiercely towards the devil Salo. When the demon Sorrow looked at Yi Chu who didn't intend to let him go, his face also showed a little bit of a wicked look, and then the demon Sorrow attacked Yi Chu, but the demon Sorrow attacked Yi Chu as well. Luo's last resistance was useless, and then Yi Chu stabbed the devil Saruo in the chest with a fierce sword. When the divine sword stabbed into the chest of the demon Sorrow, a mysterious power also radiated from the divine sword. This mysterious force directly attacked the spirit and soul of the demon Sorrow. Salo's spirit and soul were devastated. Immediately after that, his spirit and soul began to shatter. The horror and unbelievable expression in the eyes of the devil Salo. He did not expect that he had not done anything when he came to this 12 universe. Is now about to fall. Immediately after that, the last bit of brilliance in the eyes of the devil Salo had completely dissipated. He bent his head and fell towards the ground, and then his body completely dissipated, turned into powder, and floated between the heavens and the earth. After Yi Chu killed the devil Salo, he had also killed all the devils. He stood quietly, but closed his eyes, because at this time he felt that after killing so many demons, he also gained a lot of experience points, and even gained a lot of exchange points. At Yi Chu's side, the masters in the 12 universes that Yi Chu brought over were also killing those masters who had taken refuge in the devil, and killed those masters who had taken refuge in the devil before. Almost. Yi Chu closed his eyes gently, and then the momentum in his body began to explode. Because he has gained a lot of experience points, his level has also been raised again. In the past, his level had reached level 99, and now his level has reached level 100. The level of 100 is a powerful qualitative change. His strength has also been greatly improved, and his momentum has even changed a little bit. In an instant, he was in the peak state of Super Race God 2, but now he has also broken through Super Saiyan 3. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chu started again, and a little change took place. I saw that his body became a little taller, and the hair on his body also changed a color, and the whole person looked more handsome. Super Saiyan 3 state, I have finally risen to this level. Yi Chu opened his eyes exuded a confident brilliance, he clenched his fists and felt a surging and powerful force surging in his body. At this time, next to Yi Chu, there were still many masters who were struggling and resisted, who had joined the demons. At this time, they also felt the aura emanating from Yi Chu, and they also felt a sense of despair in their hearts. At this time, Yamozi and the others also quietly looked back at Yi Chu. Yamozi was already a little shocked, because he felt that Yi Chu's breath was actually the breath of the third state of Super Saiyan God. He is only very close to the state of Saiyan 3, but has never reached it. Super Race God 3, Yi Chu has actually reached this level. Yeah, okay, Moxie opened his mouth, and his heart was full of surprises. After hearing Yamoshi's question, Yi Chu nodded slowly, and Yamoshi was even more shocked in his heart. In his lifetime, he could see someone who has practiced the Super Race God 3 state, and he felt in his heart that he would be content to die now. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chu looked at the demon comrades who were still resisting beside him. The next moment, Yi Chu's body filled with a powerful aura. This aura swept through the surroundings, and the next moment it spread far away, covering all the surrounding demons. The next moment, the bodies of those demon comrades began to stiffen, and then all of their bodies shattered into powder and scattered in the air. Yi Chu actually killed all of these demons and gangs just by relying on his own aura, and he didn't hurt anyone in his camp a little bit. 220. The King Who Resigned, 2/6. Is this the power of Super Saiyan 3? Yamoshi looked at Yi Chu quietly and said, his heart was full of admiration and envy. If he could reach this level in his lifetime, he would be content. At this time, Yamoshi looked at Yi Chu, and he felt as if Yi Chu's strength had been greatly improved, but he didn't know why. When Yi Chu opened his eyes, he looked around, because at this time Yi Chu had killed all the demons and even sacrificed some of his own, so the air was filled with blood. Taste, but everyone's heart is not only not sad, but very excited. They watched Yi Chu and began to cheer gradually, because without Yi Chu, they would not have been able to win this time, and this time they can also be said to be a great victory. If not for Yi Chu, maybe this time the ending is another. At this time, King Quan was also looking at Yi Chu, and his heart was full of admiration. At this time, he also found that Yi Chu's strength had surpassed him by so much without knowing it, making him even feel a little far away. Yi Chu, you have such strength that I am still the ruler of the 12 universes. It really elevates me a bit. In my opinion, you should be the master of the 12 universes. King Quan came over and started talking like this. After hearing King Quan's words, Yi Chu became silent for a while. Immediately afterwards, Yamoshi looked at Yi Chu and said, Yi Chu, since all the kings have said so, then you should promise them, you are the ruler of the 12 universes, and no one will be dissatisfied now. 12 such as the god of destruction all looked at Yi Chu quietly, and their eyes were full of anticipation. At this time, although Yi Chu had not officially said that he had become the master of Universe 12, everyone in his heart, he had already decided that Yi Chu was the master of the 12 universes. Yi Chu raised his head and looked around, seeing that everyone's expressions were very serious, and there was a little fluctuation in his heart. Okay, since all of you want me to be the master in the 12 universes, then I will promise you this time. Yi Chu spoke lightly. After hearing Yi Chu's words, everyone felt uplifted in their hearts, because if Yi Chu became the ruler of Universe 12, he would do more things for Universe 12. It will feel more secure, and the 12 universes will surely be more harmonious, and the development will be more rapid. Everyone started cheering. At this time, everyone looked at Yi Chu. In their hearts, they seemed to regard Yi Chu as their belief, and Yi Chu also felt that an aura had formed between them. And the core of this aura is himself. Clear the battlefield for me. Yi Chu waved his hand and said, and then many people went down to clean up the battlefield. Not long after, the battlefield had been cleaned up again, and all the demons had been killed at this time, except for those who were beheaded. As well as some captured demon comrades. Brother Yi Chu, what should we do with these demons who have already been captured? At this time, Wukong came over, and Wukong brought a lot of people next to him. All of these people were the same party of the devil. They also caused a lot of disasters in the 12 universe before, and helped the devil to deal with the 12 universe. But because these people were once living beings in the 12 universes, Wukong couldn't bear them. Wukong, I know you have some sympathy for them in your heart, and their expressions look very pitiful, but you know that they have killed many people in our 12 universe, and they are even better than those BFBC demons. They are all cruel. Do you still want to sympathize with them in your heart now? Yichu opened his mouth, stretched out his hand and waved, showing a scene of these man-made disasters in the past. After hearing Yichu's words and seeing the picture that Yichu showed, Wukong's heart also fluctuated. Wukong fell silent. After thinking for a while, his eyes gradually became firmer. He knew what Yichu said. There is nothing wrong. When he thinks of what these people have done before, Wukong also made a decision in his heart. Brother Yichu, I think I know what to do. Immediately after Wukong opened his mouth, Wukong waved his hand. Drag all these traitors down and kill them all. After Wukong opened his mouth to hear Wukong's words, Yichu also nodded. He found that Wukong had really grown up at this time. Growth should not only be good for those he likes, but also bad for those he hates. There is no mercy in war. If you have mercy on your enemies, then you are cruel to your own side. Wukong must learn such things. Although Yichu knows that he is kind in his heart, he must be kind and indifferent person. When these traitors were dragged down, their eyes were still full of pity, but Yichu knew that this was just their appearance, and they were mercilessly beheaded. People in our 12 universes can exercise each other, but we must never allow outsiders to hurt us, nor do we allow people in 12 universes to hurt ourselves, so whoever becomes a traitor will be their fate. After beheading these traitors, Yichu stood in the sky and said to the people around him. Yichu's words also reached the ears of everyone around him. After hearing Yichu's words, they nodded their heads. Yichu's words were memorized like a Bible. Not long after that, Yichu had already done everything in Universe 8, so he was ready to go back. Only the 7th universe is his base camp, because there is his planet in the 7th universe, and after this incident, Yichu's planet has become more prosperous, and Yichu has also exerted his power to make his planet bigger. And gradually Yichu's planet has become the most prosperous planet in the 12 universes. But Yichu always adhered to the principle that only himself and Saiyans lived on his planet, and Saiyans also became the most noble race in the 12 universes. Every Saiyan can be said to stand out, and the talents of Saiyans are gradually displayed. People in 12 universes also found that the talents of Saiyans are even higher than they thought. Every Saiyan can be said to be born warriors. Their potential is extremely huge.